How does leaving the heliosphere alter ties to the sun? What changes mark entry into the interstellar medium? How does cosmic dust evoke connection to the universe? I float in the silent twilight of our solar system, far from the noisy cradle of Earth. The sun is still a golden presence behind me, its light a soft, distant glow that bathes my spacecraft in reassurance. Even here, at the outskirts of everything familiar, I feel the gentle warmth of our star on my face, faint but unmistakable. It casts long shadows inside the cabin, reminding me I'm still in the embrace of home. For a moment, I close my eyes, savouring this delicate light and the comfort it carries, knowing soon it will fade as I venture further into the dark. Through the window I see the planets lined up like tiny jewels in the blackness behind. One by one, they have fallen away on this long outward journey. Jupiter's banded sphere vanishing first, then the pale blue dot of Earth, now indistinguishable among countless stars. Even mighty Saturn with its rings became a mere glimmer and disappeared. Out here, beyond Neptune's orbit, the sun itself has shrunk to a brilliant star, just one point of light among many. Its rays are weaker now, a last whisper of warmth across millions of miles. I press my palm against the cool glass, feeling both the comforting presence of that distant sun and the creeping chill of the vast night ahead. Inside the ship, all is calm. A low hum from the engines is the only reminder of motion. Every system is checked and steady, as familiar as the ticking of a clock at home. In this cocoon of metal and hope, I carry a piece of Earth with me, the air recycled through the gardens in our life support, the scent of something green and alive still faintly detectable. It's a quiet sanctuary, moving at unimaginable speed, yet I hardly feel the velocity. Only the instruments and the slowly changing view outside tell me how far we've come. I feel neither up nor down, only a gentle weightlessness that lets my body relax as I drift. I think of the sunrises and sunsets back on Earth, how each day's light felt new and warm on my skin. Here, sunrise and sunset have lost their meaning. The sun no longer rises or sets. It simply grows dimmer with distance. The cycle of day and night that once ruled my life has stretched out into endless night, punctuated by one steady glow. I am unmoored from those rhythms now, free of ticking clocks and turning calendars. There's a serenity in this timelessness, a calm that allows my thoughts to wander as slowly as the ship itself sails through emptiness. Yet with the serenity comes a solemn understanding. I am leaving the safety of all I have ever known. Each passing minute carries me further from the light of home and deeper into the unknown. There is excitement in that thought, the thrill of discovery, of seeing things no one has seen, but also a quiet apprehension. Beyond the reaches of our sun's comforting glow lie distances and dangers we can barely imagine. I let that realization wash over me gently, acknowledging the small knot of fear in my stomach without letting it grow. My hands rest lightly on the controls, steady and calm. This journey was a choice, one I made knowing the risks. And even as shadows of uncertainty gather at the edges of my mind, I remain resolved. The path ahead is dark, but it calls to me with an irresistible whisper. For now, I linger a little longer in this moment, in the shadow of our local sun. I allow myself to feel the last traces of its light and the echoes of home. Memories flicker softly. Blue skies over open fields, the laughter of loved ones under a bright afternoon sun, the gentle rocking of ocean waves reflecting daylight. These images float through my mind like leaves on a quiet stream. I hold them close, not with sadness, but with gratitude. They are a part of me I carry into the dark, guiding lights of memory to keep me company when the real stars outside grow cold. A soft chime sounds from the console, a reminder of the course I've plotted. The time has come to turn away from the sun's glow and face the deeper night ahead. With one last backward glance, I see that golden star of ours, shining bravely in the distance. It seems to wink, as if offering a gentle farewell. I whisper a goodbye to the sun, to all the planets and people bathed in its light. Then I adjust the ship's orientation slowly, bringing the vast expanse of interstellar space into full view through the window. The sunlight diminishes by the degree, and the stars ahead brighten against the void. In the stillness, I take a deep breath, inhaling the cool, filtered air of my little world. The comfort of home lies behind me now, and before me stretches the infinite dark canvas of the galaxy. Here at the very edge of our solar system, I feel both incredibly small and profoundly alive. The boundary between the known and the unknown is not a line drawn in space, but a gradual fading of light and certainty. I have been journeying through that twilight, and now the night awaits. With calm determination, I press onward, leaving the gentle halo of our sun behind. The last glow of familiar warmth slips away, and the stars ahead beckon with quiet mystery. In this moment, suspended between comfort and the vast beyond, I step fully into the darkness, ready to discover what lies beyond the reach of our sun. Stars surround me on all sides now, a great sparkling sphere of distant lights. But the sun that nurtured me is little more than another star in the crowd. As I drift farther outward, I enter a realm few have seen. The outermost reaches of the Oort cloud, the icy frontier of our home. Here, countless ancient objects circle the sun from afar. Frozen wanderers, the remnants of our solar system's birth. Most are invisible specks in the dark, but occasionally one drifts close enough for my instruments to catch. I watch the sensors trace a faint outline of an icy body a few miles across, a silent comet nucleus that has never felt the warmth of the inner sun. It hangs in the void like a dark ghost, illuminated only by the weak lantern of our distant star and the soft glow of galaxies beyond. In its solitude, I see a reflection of myself, a solitary voyager, just passing through this cold, quiet realm. The spacecraft glides through this field of cosmic snowballs with quiet grace. There is little to mark our passage. The specks of ice and rock are so far apart that eons pass without any two ever touching. Still, I imagine them out there in the darkness, billions of frozen sentinels, leftovers from creation, keeping watch at the boundary of the sun's domain. Occasionally, a grain of cosmic dust taps gently against the hull, a tiny reminder of these unseen companions. Each tap is like a distant whisper, as if the Oort cloud itself murmurs farewell as I slip by. I find a strange comfort in their presence. Though I cannot see them with my eyes, I know they are all around, ancient and patient. Their orbits carry the memory of our solar system's youth, and I journey among them with reverence. In this far-flung region, The sun's light has grown faint. Day by day it recedes, a beacon dimming behind me. The cabin grows a bit cooler despite the heaters, not from any failing of the ship, but from the knowledge that outside, the warmth of sunlight has all but disappeared. I wrap a light blanket around my shoulders as I sit by the window, gazing out at the endless night. The stars out here do not twinkle. They shine steady and true, without an atmosphere to make them waver. One of those steady lights is our sun, and I have to search to pick it out among the others. It takes a moment, but I find it. A slightly brighter pinprick far behind, surrounded by an ocean of black. Seeing it so small at last makes my heart ache gently. How many mornings did I watch the sun rise, blazing huge over Earth's horizon? Now it is reduced to a tiny point, no different at first glance than its countless siblings. And yet, knowing that one point is my sun gives it a special glow in my eyes. I blink away the hint of tears and smile softly at the irony. We often don't realize how unique something is until we see it from so far away that it nearly disappears. At last, an alert flashes on the navigation panel. A milestone has been reached. According to every measurement, I am now crossing the outer boundary of the heliosphere, the vast bubble of solar wind that our sun blows into space. Here, at this invisible frontier, the particles streaming from our sun meet the thin gas that drifts between the stars. The ship's instruments register a shift. The charged particles from the sun are giving way to traces of cosmic rays and interstellar atoms. In practical terms, nothing dramatic happens. There is no jolt, no flash of light, but I know the significance. I have left the sun's protective envelope at last. The space around me is no longer dominantly shaped by our star, but by the combined influence of countless distant stars and the galaxy itself. I pause the ship's engines for a moment and simply drift, letting momentum carry me over this threshold. There is a profound silence as I do. I close my eyes and reflect on this moment in human history. Few have ever come this far. I feel a quiet pride glow within me, gentle and warm. The journey that began under the bright skies of Earth has now taken me truly into interstellar space. I whisper a soft word to myself, a kind of ritual. Goodbye. It's a farewell to the solar system, to the sun's realm that I have known all my life. Ahead lies the space between the stars, untamed and vast. Behind lies everything familiar, growing fainter, but forever a part of me. The radio is quiet. There are no messages from home to guide me, just the steady rhythm of my heart and the faint hum of the ship. Gradually, I engage the engines once more and push gently onward. The faint blue glow of the thrusters flares for a moment behind me, then settles into a steady, quiet burn, propelling me further into the unknown. The stars ahead seem a touch brighter now, as if welcoming me into their realm. I realize that out here, with no sunlit dust or atmosphere to veil them, the cosmos shines in its full glory. The band of the Milky Way arches across the darkness, a river of starlight, and I am sailing its currents on a tiny ship built by human hands. The sight is both humbling and breathtaking. In the distance, I think I can discern a subtle haze, a delicate smudge of light against the void. Perhaps it is a cloud of interstellar dust, or the faint glow of a nebula far off my path. Even in emptiness, there are whispers of substance, the first hints that the interstellar medium awaits. With calm anticipation, I set my course toward that ghostly glimmer. As I leave the last icy fragments of the Oort cloud behind, I venture fully into the space between the stars, eager to greet the thin, ethereal mysteries that drift in the darkness ahead. The emptiness between the stars is not truly empty. As my ship slips deeper into interstellar space, the sensors begin to pick up a subtle change in the environment. Ahead of me drifts a tenuous cloud of gas and dust, so faint that to the naked eye it's nearly imperceptible. Yet it's there, a ghostly presence in the dark. I notice the stars ahead, appearing just a touch hazy, their light ever so slightly blurred. At first I think my eyes are tired, but then I realize I have entered a cloud of interstellar medium. It's nothing like the dense fogs or clouds of Earth. Out here, even a cloud is almost a vacuum. But compared to the pristine emptiness around it, this region holds a whisper of substance, a scattering of atoms and cosmic dust grains that have been wandering for millennia. I dim the cabin lights to adjust my eyes. Through the window, a delicate shimmer becomes apparent against the black. It's a diffuse glow, so faint I might have missed it if I weren't looking for it. Starlight from afar is caressing the particles in this cloud, making them glow ever so gently. The effect is enchanting, like a gauze of pale light draped across the stars. I feel as if I'm sailing through a wispy tendril of an ancient ghost. There is a softness to the darkness now. The deep black of space takes on the slightest hint of blue-grey luminescence. It reminds me of the way the sky on Earth would look just before dawn, a subtle lightening that promises morning. But here, no sun will rise. It is starlight, and the intrinsic glow of cosmic dust that creates this false dawn. The ship's instruments quietly analyze the surroundings. A readout on the console shows a marginal increase in particles, hydrogen atoms, a few helium atoms, traces of heavier elements like oxygen and carbon. Tiny motes of dust, perhaps no larger than grains of sand, drift here as well. They might be remnants of a star that exploded long ago, the ashes of a supernova dispersed across light years. To be among them now feels almost sacred. I am travelling through the scattered remains of ancient suns. The thought sends a gentle shiver through me, not of fear, but of reverence. Each atom here has its own story, forged in the heart of a star, blown into the void, and now a part of this ethereal cloud enveloping my ship. In this moment, I feel intimately connected to the grand life cycle of the cosmos. As I glide further in, I take the opportunity to listen to the silence around me. I switch on a sensitive radio receiver and let it convert the electromagnetic murmurs of space into sound. Through the speakers comes a faint hiss and sporadic crackles, the background noise of the galaxy. It's a comforting kind of silence, textured with tiny pops of static. Every so often, a gentle whistling tone rises and falls, perhaps the distant song of a pulsar, or the sigh of charged particles dancing in the magnetic fields around the ship. I close my eyes and soak in these ghostly sounds. It's as if the universe is whispering in my ear. There is music in this emptiness, if one knows how to listen. The sound is lullaby soft, blending with the subtle hum of the ship's systems, and it lulls me into a state of calm reflection. Within the cloud, time itself seems to slow. There are no landmarks here, nothing obvious to measure my progress by. The distances are so vast, and the particles so sparse, that only my instruments confirm I am moving at all. Outside, the gentle glow of the dust cloud remains around me, unchanged for hours or days on end. I find my mind wandering freely, unbound by the constraints of schedules or sunrise and sunset. I think about the people back home, perhaps gazing up at the night sky, unaware of this delicate haze I'm drifting through so many trillions of miles away. Even the nearest star beyond our sun is still incomprehensibly far from here, yet I feel its presence in the distance as a goal, a lighthouse on the horizon of this sea of night. Eventually, the ghostly light around me begins to fade. The ship has been crossing this diffuse nebula for a long while, and now at last we are emerging from its far side. The stars ahead grow sharp and clear again, no longer blurred by the veil of dust. I find myself strangely sad to leave the cloud behind. It was a gentle companion, a rare and quiet beacon in the dark. In its absence, the pure, stark black of space returns, and the pinpoint stars regain their diamond clarity. I take one last look back through the rear monitors at the faint glimmer of the cloud, now receding behind me like a memory. As the view ahead comes back into crisp focus, something new catches my attention. Amid the countless distant stars, I spot one that shines a little brighter than the rest in my forward path. It's not the sun. That golden dot lies behind me. This is another star, solitary and faint, but distinct against the emptiness. A lonely beacon in the abyss. My heart quickens just a little at the sight. After travelling through darkness and dust, the prospect of approaching a star, even a small dim one, fills me with quiet excitement. According to my charts, it's a rogue red dwarf, drifting alone far from any constellation. I gently alter course ever so slightly, aiming to pass closer to this star. The thought of seeing even the feeble light of a red dwarf up close feels comforting, like stumbling upon a tiny campfire in a cold wilderness. With the fading nebula behind me, and this solitary star growing slowly ahead, I prepare to greet one of the first lonely suns on my journey beyond our solar system. Drifting through the deep, I soon come upon the first of the lonely stars on my route. The red dwarf I spotted gradually grows brighter as I approach over many weeks. What at first was a tiny ruby pinprick among the constellations becomes a distinct orb with a faint reddish glow. Up close, though still several billion miles away, it's unlike any sun I've seen before. The star is small, not much larger than a giant planet, and its light is dim and ruddy. Space around it has an eerie dusk-like quality. I find myself bathed in a gentle red twilight as the ship draws nearer. It's a peaceful, otherworldly glow that filters into my cabin. I gaze at this crimson star through the viewport, marveling at its tenacity. Here it is, shining quietly in the void, with no planets or companions that I can detect, a lone beacon of warmth in an otherwise frigid night. I take the ship in for a closer pass around the red dwarf, though I keep a respectful distance. Even a small star commands caution. The instruments report a few brief flares of radiation. Red dwarfs are known to be feisty, prone to sudden outbursts. But fortunately none are directed toward me at this moment. From where I float, the star appears calm, a dim coal burning steadily against the darkness. I reflect on how different this feeble sun is from our own. Its glow is scarcely enough to illuminate my ship. Shadows in the cabin remain deep and long, tinted red at their edges. Yet despite its faintness, this star will outlive almost all others. Red dwarfs burn their fuel so slowly that they endure for trillions of years. In its patience and persistence, there's something comforting. It will be here, shining softly, long after our bright sun has exhausted its life. I feel a kinship with this little star, both of us travellers in the great dark, solitary but resolute. After paying silent homage to the red dwarf, I gradually arc away, letting the pull of its gravity give the ship a gentle boost onward. The ruby light fades behind me, receding into the tapestry of stars. I am alone in the dark again, but not for long. Sometime later, my charts and sensors guide me to another solitary light, a white dwarf star, the remnant core of a once mighty sun. It lies off the beaten path, a tiny pearl-white dot, almost lost against the black backdrop. Drawing nearer, I see it shine with a hard, brilliant light, white with a tinge of blue. Unlike the friendly warmth of the red dwarf, this light feels ghostly and intense, the fierce, last glimmer of a dead star. The white dwarf is much smaller, even than the red dwarf. In fact, it's only about the size of Earth, an incredibly dense sphere of carbon and oxygen left after a star like our Sun shed its outer layers. I keep a wide berth, knowing its gravity is strong despite its small size. There's a delicate halo of glowing matter around it, perhaps remnants of the old star's last breaths, slowly dissipating into space. The sight is hauntingly beautiful, a cosmic tombstone radiating in silent elegance. As I pass the white dwarf, I think of the life that star once had. Did it have planets circling it, bathed in its light eons ago? Did those worlds witness the grand final act when the star swelled into a red giant and cast off its veil to reveal this hot, pale core? Now, all that remains is this solitary beacon, cooling ever so slowly over billions of years. I feel a melancholy admiration. Even in death, the star is stunning, a jewel of white fire against eternal night. I dip my ship's bow in a quiet salute as I glide beyond it, honouring the memory of a sun that was. Between these encounters with lonely stars, the darkness regains its dominion. The gulf separating one star from the next is vast and empty. I spend long stretches with nothing but the faint glow of distant galaxies and the sparse sprinkle of far-off stars to keep me company. It's during one such quiet interval that my ship's alert chimes softly, indicating a subtle disturbance ahead. I sit up and scan the readouts. It isn't a star, no light is visible, but the gravitational sensors register a faint tug, as if something massive yet dark is lurking in the void. I adjust course and power up the forward lights, curious and cautious in equal measure. Slowly, an enormous shape emerges from the darkness, silhouetted against the starfield. I catch my breath as the floodlights of the ship play over a portion of it, a planet drifting alone through interstellar space. It's a rogue planet, cast out from whatever system birthed it, now wandering the galaxy without a sun. I approach it carefully. In the beam of my lights, I can make out swirling patterns of deep purple and blue, gas giant bands like those of Jupiter, but painted in nightshade hues. This world is truly dark. With no starlight to illuminate its clouds, I rely on my ship's lamps and infrared scanners. The planet's atmosphere glows faintly in infrared images, hinting at residual heat left from its formation. It's like a still warm ember hidden under ashes, nearly invisible unless you reach out and feel its warmth. I steer closer, skimming just above the upper edge of the rogue planet's atmosphere. There's no sunrise here, no horizon glowing with the promise of dawn. Only a curving expanse of dimly lit clouds fading into endless night. Occasionally, a flash of lightning crackles deep within those clouds, briefly lighting up turbulent patterns before subsiding into darkness again. I wonder what it would be like to stand on an island of solid ground on that world, if any exists far below the gas layers, to look up at a sky with no sun. Eternal night, broken only by faint pinpricks of distant stars. A sky where constellations never change because there is no day to interrupt them. It's a haunting thought, yet strangely peaceful in its own way. This planet knows nothing of seasons or daylight. It sleeps in perpetual shadow, a silent wanderer. Satisfied with my observations, I gently pull away from the rogue giant. As I do, I think of all the lonely worlds that must be out here, unseen and unguessed. For every star that shines, how many invisible planets roam in darkness, each a lost child of the galaxy. The scale of it humbles me anew. My ship's engines rumble softly as I set a new course, leaving the planet to its endless night. Soon, it is swallowed by the black, becoming just another patch of emptiness behind me. The journey continues on, and with each passing mile, I feel the stars growing sparser. We are heading toward a part of space where even these solitary beacons will be few and far between. The red dwarf, the white dwarf, the rogue planet. These might be the last waypoints of light and matter for a long while. Ahead of me stretches an expanse of nearly starless void, the dark ocean between spiral arms, or perhaps at the fringe of our galaxy. I take a deep breath and steady my mind. The true abyss lies before me now, and I must traverse it. With the memories of those lonely lights to hearten me, I press onward, ready to face the deepening dark. The last faint lights of home are now far behind me. I find myself on the threshold of an abyss that few have ever imagined, let alone seen. A stretch of space so empty and vast that even the stars are scarce. When I peer out into the forward view, the cosmos looks different here. The Milky Way's dense starfields have thinned. Behind me, I can still trace the glow of our galaxy as a hazy band of light. But ahead, in the direction I'm traveling, there are only a few distant stars, sprinkled across a deep, unbroken darkness. This is the beginning of the starless gulf, the great intergalactic void that lies between our Milky Way and the next galaxy. The sight of that endless black could be overwhelming, but I take it in slowly, calmly. It's as if I've reached the shore of a vast, dark ocean. I will need to cross it, stroke by stroke, in darkness and solitude, until I find the next distant shore. Knowing the challenge that lies ahead, I devote my time to preparation. First, the ship. I run comprehensive checks on every system: power, life support, navigation, communications. All must be in perfect shape for the journey through nothingness. I methodically inspect the reactor levels, top off fuel reserves from the stores I've brought, and run self-diagnostic programs twice over. In this emptiness, a malfunction could be disastrous. There will be no friendly outposts or passing comets to offer resources or shelter. The ship must be my entire world, a safe haven carrying its own bubble of warmth and air through a cold void. I take comfort in the steady readings that glow on the consoles. The engines hum at a low idle, ready to be throttled up for the long cruise ahead. The oxygen gardens, a small hydroponic section in the aft of the ship, are green and thriving, recycling my air and providing a touch of nature, even out here. I spend an hour carefully pruning the little vines and checking the moisture levels in the soil. The scent of damp earth and leaves is a welcome balm to my senses, a tiny reminder of life amid the sterile stars. Satisfied that the ship is in order, I turn my attention inward, to my own well-being. I have been alone for a long while now, and I will be even more alone in the coming days and months of travel. To keep my mind and spirit healthy, I establish a gentle routine for myself. Each morning, a concept that barely applies when the sun never rises, I wake from my sleep cycle and stretch in the weightlessness, going through slow exercises to keep my muscles and bones strong. I play soft music as I move, letting the gentle melodies reverberate through the cabin. Sometimes it's a piece of classical music from centuries ago, piano and violin weaving a calming tapestry of sound. Other times, I play recordings of nature, the patter of rainfall, the sigh of wind through trees, distant ocean waves washing onto a shore. I close my eyes and let those earthly sounds wash over me, imagining for a moment that I'm back under a grey, drizzly sky or sitting beside the rolling surf on a warm beach. These little rituals bring me comfort. They remind me that there is a world full of life and colour that I come from, and to which I one day hope to return. Meditation has become another key part of my days. After a small breakfast, I dim the cabin lights and simply float in the air, focusing on my breathing. I envision myself as a tiny speck in a vast, benevolent darkness. With each breath, I imagine drawing in starlight and exhaling any lingering fear or worry. In this state, I sometimes feel as though I dissolve into the surrounding space. The boundary between me and the universe blurs, and I become just another quiet element of the cosmos. It's a strangely comforting feeling. Rather than feeling insignificant, I feel integrated, as if the emptiness is embracing me instead of confronting me. By the time I finish my meditation, my heart is steady and my mind is clear. I hold on to that clarity as I go about the rest of my routine. I occupy myself with various small tasks and pastimes to keep my mind sharp. I read through the ship's library of books, immersing myself in stories and knowledge that humanity has collected. Everything from ancient poetry to old space travel logs of pioneers who came before me. Their words keep me company. Sometimes I write in my journal, describing my thoughts, the sights I see, and even the silence itself, as if I'm penning a letter to the future or to anyone who might one day retrace this voyage. It helps to put feelings into words, to give shape to the vast intangibles of this journey. On especially long afternoons, I project old star maps on the cabin wall and trace constellations, or play simple games of chess against the ship's computer to keep my mind engaged. The AI isn't much of a conversationalist. It speaks in a neutral, gentle tone only when spoken to, but I sometimes say hello just to hear a voice other than my own. Even that soft, electronic reply, "Yes, Captain," is a reassurance that I am not completely alone. As I prepare mentally, I also consider the passage of time in this great traverse. The distances are so immense that they challenge my comprehension. Even at the high speed I can attain, this part of the journey will take a very long time. I have set the ship on a course toward our neighbouring galaxy, a vast collection of stars known to be more tumultuous than our own. It feels almost like aiming an arrow into the dark, hoping eventually to reach a target I can barely see. I know that as I travel onward, decades might slip by. I will experience long stretches of quiet, where only the soft crackle of the radio or the whisper of my own thoughts will mark the passage of time. I've made peace with that prospect. In a way, time out here becomes fluid. Days and years are measured not by a calendar, but by personal milestones. The completion of another book, the growth of another inch on my tomato plants in the hydroponics bay, the slow dimming of the Milky Way behind me as I push farther into the void. Before I depart this threshold and plunge into the true emptiness, I take one last action, a final message home. I know the transmission will take years to reach, if it ever does, and by the time anyone receives it, I will already be far beyond the point of no return. Still, I feel compelled to send some parting words. I sit at the comm station and record a short, heartfelt update, describing the view, my ship's status, and my hope for what lies ahead. I tell them I am safe, that I am entering the dark expanse now, and that I carry with me the dreams of everyone who has ever looked up and wondered what's out there. I will make it through, I softly conclude, and I will see what awaits on the other side of the darkness. My voice is calm and resolute. I send the message on its way, a faint beam of information racing after me, back toward the distant cradle of humanity. Whether anyone hears it or not, speaking these words gives me strength. It feels as though I've drawn a line connecting me to home one last time, a line that will stretch and thin, but never truly break. With everything in order and my resolve firm, the moment arrives to truly set forth. I position myself in the pilot's seat and gradually increase the throttle. The engines, which had been a mere comforting purr in the background, rise to a steady, powerful thrum. The ship begins to accelerate into the black, leaving behind the last tenuous grip of our galaxy's gravity. Stars slip slowly out of view behind me on the monitors, until even the white dwarf and red dwarf I visited are lost to the distance. Ahead, there is only night, deep and unending. But somewhere far beyond that darkness is the galaxy I seek, its faint glow not yet visible to the naked eye, but present on my navigation maps like a promise. As I reach cruising speed, I take one more long look at the panorama around me. Distant galaxies pepper the universe in various corners, tiny, fuzzy smudges of light far, far away. One of them is my destination, though I cannot distinguish it from the others just yet. The cabin lights are dimmed to starlight levels. The interior of the ship is tranquil and warm. I feel a profound sense of purpose washing over me. This is it, the great leap into the void. All the years of training, dreaming, and wondering have led to this moment. Instead of fear, I find an unexpected serenity within myself. A slight smile comes to my face as I think about how far I've come and how much farther I have to go. In the quiet, I whisper a few words of determination, a personal mantra to carry me forward, into the darkness and beyond. Then I settle back, letting the ship carry me onward, wrapped in the gentle cocoon of my vessel, with stars at my back and uncertainty ahead. I forge into the unknown, hopeful and unafraid. The endless night welcomes me, and I embrace it, ready to discover whatever secrets await in the heart of darkness. The spacecraft drifts silently through a realm of thinning starlight. Each hour carries it farther from the dense spiral arm it once navigated and into a broad interstellar gulf. Within this barren expanse between the galaxy's spiral arms, familiar constellations fade away, swallowed by darkness. In their place emerges a deeper night, a darkness studded with faint, otherworldly glimmers that were previously unseen. Out here, far from any nearby suns, the sky is nearly black to human eyes. But gradually, the crew discerns the faint haze of distant galaxies, scattered like tiny islands of light across the cosmic ocean. These are not individual stars at all, but the combined glow of billions of stars compressed by distance into a delicate smear of luminosity. In the backdrop, a quasar shines as a pinpoint of enigmatic light, a beacon from the early universe, travelling across eons to meet their gaze. To the naked eye, it appears merely as an unusually bright star. But in truth, this quasar is the furious heart of a primordial galaxy, blazing with the light of uncounted suns as matter spirals into a supermassive black hole. Each distant galaxy they see may be millions or billions of light years away. The light from those swirling realms set out long before our sun had planets, carrying with it stories of cosmic epochs gone by. To the travellers, these glimmers are ancient messengers, photons that departed their sources when the universe was younger and only now arrive, faint but resolute. Gazing at this ancient light, the crew cannot help but feel a profound connection across time and space, a quiet awe at witnessing a past so remote from their present journey. Beyond even those beacons lies the most ancient light of all, the faint afterglow of the universe's birth. Now cooled and stretched to invisibility, it is a silent presence that bathes the cosmos, a reminder of the beginning that still echoes around them. Though imperceptible to their eyes, sensitive instruments could detect this background radiation, a uniform microwave whisper left from the dawn of creation. Between the scattered stars here, the void itself feels different. Out in this gulf, the thin scattering of gas and dust that fills the galaxy has dwindled to almost nothing. The interstellar medium that surrounds them is so tenuous that it approaches a perfect vacuum, far emptier than any laboratory chamber on Earth could achieve. In this near-absolute emptiness, a tiny number of stray atoms drift in each cubic meter, making the space around the ship fundamentally quiet and still. The silence in this realm is absolute. Beyond the hull walls, there is no air to carry sound, no whisper of wind or cosmic noise that human ears could detect. If one of them were to float out there in a suit and switch off the radio, they would be enveloped in perfect quiet, hearing only the thud of their own heart echoing in their ears. That thought is both eerie and serene, a reminder that in space, silence reigns, a silence broken only by the rhythms of their vessel and their own living breaths. With so little dust and glare out here, their instruments capture the cosmos with unprecedented clarity. The scientists aboard seize this chance to study faint, distant wonders normally obscured when viewed from within a galaxy's bustling disk. They train telescopes on those far-off smudges of light, teasing out subtle details of galaxies and quasars that no human eye has directly seen before. Each new image and measurement is a reminder that they are pioneers in the intergalactic deep, uncovering sights that were once mere mysteries on observatory photographs back on Earth. Behind them, the luminous band of their home galaxy stretches faintly, no longer the bright tapestry it was when surrounded by neighbouring stars. What was once a dense river of light across the sky has thinned to a delicate gauze, a reminder of the spiral arm they left behind. Separated from that brilliance, the travellers float in a near-total darkness that sharpens their view of the wider universe. Freed from the glare of close suns and the veil of cosmic dust, their eyes and instruments drink in sights normally hidden. The soft glow of star clusters in remote galaxies, the reddish blink of a distant pulsar, and the ghostly radiance of nebulae half a cosmos away. Someplace in that gauzy band is the sun they once knew, now just an indistinguishable point lost among millions. Inside the ship, the crew dims the cabin lights and presses close to the viewing ports to marvel at the spectacle. Without nearby stars to overwhelm the view, the universe outside appears in stark clarity. They float in a cocoon of metal and hope, surrounded by a panorama of eternity. In this profound solitude, each person feels both insignificant and deeply connected to the cosmos, as if their small vessel were a pilgrim in an endless night, guided by the faint glow of ancient lights strewn across the void. At times, they cannot help but wonder if they are truly alone in this vast expanse. Somewhere in one of those distant galaxies, perhaps other eyes gaze back across the abyss, looking toward the faint glimmer of the Milky Way. The idea that another civilization might be peering from an unimaginable distance, pondering the same cosmic questions, sends a gentle shiver through them. Amid the silent emptiness, this possibility feels both humbling and comforting. Humbling in the face of the universe's enormity, yet comforting to think that awareness and curiosity may not be unique to their little ship among the stars. Even navigation takes on a cosmic scale here. Without the familiar landmarks of dense star clusters, the crew turns to the most steadfast guides in the universe. They lock onto the precise flashes of known pulsars and the fixed positions of far-off galaxies to verify their course, much as ancient seafarers once steered by the North Star. They calibrate their instruments to the timing of these pulsars, some flashing dozens of times each second with unerring consistency, using them as cosmic lighthouses to pinpoint their position. In the vastness between spiral arms, these distant beacons offer a reassuring sense of orientation, proof that amid the void, there are still signposts to follow. Aboard their little vessel, the crew often feels like mariners on a boundless sea. The black void around them is the cosmic ocean, and those distant pulsars and galaxies are their lighthouses and buoys. They are a mere speck drifting in an unfathomable expanse, reliant on their wits and each other to stay on course. In this emptiness, they are humbled by the scale of creation, yet inspired to continue, knowing that even a tiny ship can voyage through the endless night. The journey across this dark ocean continues steadily and cautiously. Though the emptiness seems peaceful and still, the crew remains vigilant. They know that even in these barren reaches, the galaxy scatters remnants of its past, the burnt-out husks of suns and other invisible hazards drifting in eternal night. With ancient starlight guiding their way and resolve in their hearts, they prepare to face whatever ghosts of stars might lie ahead in the Midway Deep. The Midway Deep holds true to its ominous promise as the travelers drift into a realm of stellar ghosts. Here, in the silent depths between spiral arms, lie the remains of stars that lived and died eons ago. The spacecraft's path now weaves through this cosmic graveyard, where the darkness is occasionally pierced by the faint signatures of those long-departed suns. It is a quiet field of remembrance, each remnant a monument to a star's final fate. Before long, the crew spots a solitary pinpoint of light ahead, faint and isolated. At first it seems like a distant star, but its feeble glow and strange spectrum reveal it to be a white dwarf, the cooling ember of a once vibrant sun. They draw closer to observe this stellar remnant, a sphere no larger than a planet, yet containing nearly the mass of a star. It shines with a ghostly white light, the last residual heat of a core that burned bright in ages past. Around the white dwarf, they can just discern a tenuous haze of illuminated gas, the last vestige of the star's shared atmosphere, drifting as a pale nebula in the darkness. Long ago, this star might have resembled their own sun. In its old age, it would have swelled into a red giant, shedding its outer layers into the void. All that remains now is that exposed stellar heart, compacted to extreme density. No flames of fusion burn there any longer. The white dwarf glows only with stored heat, radiating away its energy over billions of years. As the crew watches, they are witnessing a star in its twilight, gradually surrendering its warmth to the cold of space. At this moment, some among the crew cannot help but imagine the far future of our own sun. One day, billions of years from now, it too will exhaust its life and collapse into a white dwarf like this. The thought of the solar system under the faint glow of a tiny, dense sun, its planets either scorched or long since consumed, is haunting. Even the most steadfast stars eventually relinquish their fire, leaving only embers behind. Perhaps this dead star still holds a few scorched planets in silent orbit. They would now be frozen, locked in perpetual night. If life ever thrived around that sun in its bright days, those times are long over. Only this dim stellar corpse remains, keeping lonely vigil over a darkened system. Leaving the dim white dwarf behind, the crew ventures further into the graveyard. Soon, their instruments pick up a peculiar signal pulsing through the void, a steady, rhythmic beat, unlike anything from a normal star. It comes in precise intervals, a cosmic ticking that grows stronger as they adjust course toward its source. The crew recognizes this telltale beacon. They are homing in on a pulsar, a rapidly spinning neutron star, flashing its lighthouse beam of radiation into the darkness. As they draw near, the pulses quicken in their receivers, each burst arriving with clockwork precision. To human senses, the pulsar itself is nearly invisible, an ultra-dense ball only a few tens of kilometers across. Yet with sensitive equipment, the crew can detect its sweeping beams of energy as they slice through space with every rotation. In imagination, they picture it like a cosmic lighthouse, its twin beams fanning across the emptiness, flashing past the ship at regular intervals. Their readings suggest this pulsar spins dozens of times each second, an almost incomprehensible speed for an object of its mass. This pulsar is the collapsed core of a giant star that met its end in a supernova long ago. In that violent death, the star's outer layers were blasted away, and its core was crushed under gravity to the density of an atomic nucleus. To put it in perspective, a teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh as much as a mountain on Earth. Now it spins at a tremendous rate, perhaps many times per second, and its magnetic poles channel beams of radiation out into space. Each time a beam sweeps past Earth's line of sight, we perceive a pulse, a blinking rhythm that could be mistaken for a deliberate beacon of intelligence, though it is purely a product of stellar physics. Indeed, when pulsars were first detected on Earth in the 20th century, their precise signals briefly led astronomers to playfully nickname them LGM, for little green men. On the ship's bridge, they momentarily patched the radio signal of the pulsar through the speakers. In the hush, a steady ticking fills the air, each tick representing a turn of the neutron star. It is like listening to the heartbeat of a dead star, a metronome ticking off millennia in the darkness. The sound is strangely comforting in its regularity, yet haunting when they remember its source. An object more massive than the sun, crushed into a city-sized sphere, spinning in eternal night. After gathering data and paying silent respects to this spinning ghost, the crew continues onward. The pulses fade behind them, replaced once more by the deep quiet of space. Now only a tenuous veil of glowing gas remains drifting from that ancient explosion, barely visible as a ghostly haze in the distance. But the graveyard has one more spectre to reveal. Not all stellar remnants announce themselves with light or radio waves. Some lurk invisibly, detectable only by the tug of their gravity. As the ship charts its course through the darkness, the navigational readings begin to deviate subtly. An unseen mass ahead is pulling on the vessel, ever so slightly altering its trajectory. There is no star to see, no glow at all, just a patch of sky where starlight behind it seems oddly skewed and distorted. The crew realizes they have encountered a black hole, a true dark remnant of a once colossal star. Immediately, they give this invisible pit of gravity a wide berth. Even though it's relatively small in size, its event horizon might be only a few tens of kilometers across. The black hole's influence extends far beyond, warping space itself. The instruments estimate its mass at perhaps 10 times that of the Sun, compressed into a sphere barely dozens of kilometers wide. The pilots adjust the ship's path to ensure they remain at a safe distance, feeling a deep respect for the sheer power of this unseen object. To stray too close would mean courting forces no ship could withstand. Like the neutron star, this black hole is a child of catastrophe. It was born when a star many times the size of the Sun exhausted its fuel and collapsed under its own immense weight. But here, even the pressure of atomic forces gave way, and nothing could halt the implosion. The core crushed itself out of visible existence, leaving behind a gravitational well so deep that not even light can climb out. Nothing of the star remains visible. Within the event horizon, space and time themselves have collapsed into mystery. To the crew, the black hole reveals itself only by its effects. They watch as stars in the background are subtly magnified and distorted when their light skims near the hidden mass, a gravitational lensing effect that bends beams of starlight into arcs. For a moment, one distant star smears into a curved streak of light as the black hole's gravity warps its image. Then the star reappears as the ship moves past the alignment. It is a breathtaking demonstration of general relativity played out before their eyes, beautiful and unsettling in equal measure. The crew finds it awe-inspiring that an object once considered merely hypothetical by scientists is now right here influencing their path. There is no swirling disk of gas or dramatic jets here. This black hole is quiescent, feasting on nothing at the moment. Without infalling material, it remains utterly dark, a hole in space that would be undetectable if not for its gravity. The crew knows that only by the grace of emptiness is this object rendered harmless. Had it been active, shooting out X-rays and high-energy particles, their journey through this region would be far more perilous. Instead, it lies dormant and silent, as if the universe itself has drawn a veil over this abyss. A hush falls in the control room as they contemplate the sight. One cannot help but wonder what it would be like to approach that ultimate darkness, to pass the point of no return beyond the event horizon. It is a frontier they will never cross, a one-way passage into mystery. In this moment, the black hole truly embodies a heart of darkness in the galaxy, a place where matter and information simply vanish from the known universe. Having navigated past the black hole, the crew reflects on the solemn grandeur of this stellar graveyard. They have seen a sun's gentle afterglow fading into darkness, a neutron star's heartbeat echoing through the void, and a black hole's silent pull on the fabric of space. In the death of stars, there is both violence and silence, blazing finales and eternal quiet. Drifting onward, they carry with them a renewed respect for the life cycles of stars and the subtle dangers that the cosmos holds in the remnants of its past. Space ahead appears tranquil and empty, yet the crew knows better than to let their guard down. They have travelled far into the interstellar void, a region where dangers often lie cloaked in darkness. Without the light of nearby stars, threats do not announce themselves with a shine or a glare. In this phase of their journey, the most perilous foes are those they cannot see at all. The first sign of trouble comes not from light or sound, but from a sudden alarm on the ship's console. Ahead, the long-range radar has detected a cluster of objects drifting across their trajectory. To the naked eye, there is nothing but darkness. These objects reflect almost no sunlight. Yet the crew now knows a swarm of asteroids lies in their path, a hidden archipelago of rocks floating in the black sea of space. They slow the ship and switch on powerful forward scanners, probing the darkness for details. Gradually, outlines emerge on their displays, irregular shapes tumbling slowly, some the size of mountains, others mere boulders. These asteroids are coated in carbon-rich dust, making them as black as coal and nearly impossible to spot with optical cameras alone. Without the radar pings revealing their presence, the vessel might have sailed straight into this silent minefield. Some drift in pairs or clusters, locked in slow mutual orbits around each other. A few even sport ancient collision craters that gleam slightly where metal-rich rock is exposed. As the ship edges through the swarm, the crew catches sight of one of these ancient rocks, illuminated by the ship's floodlights. It drifts past like a jagged mountain in mid-air, its surface pocked with craters from countless impacts over millions of years. In the feeble light, they can make out the charcoal-grey terrain of the asteroid, utterly barren and cold. It is a fragment of some long-destroyed world, or an unborn planet that never coalesced, a piece of cosmic debris that now wanders the galaxy untethered. For a time, the ship winds its way slowly through this treacherous field. Engines fire in controlled bursts, nudging the vessel around larger chunks of rock. A sudden brief flash at the bow marks the shield vaporizing an errant pebble, a reminder of the countless unseen fragments whizzing by. The crew falls into a focused quiet, broken only by measured reports of distance and direction as they chart a safe course. Hours pass as they inch along, each thrust carefully planned to avoid a potential collision. Each passing shadow brings a held breath, and each cleared gap a silent sigh of relief, until finally the worst of the swarm is behind them. The sight is mesmerizing, but it also underscores the peril. Even a small asteroid could inflict devastating damage if the ship were to collide with it at high speed. A direct hit would be like an explosive impact, puncturing or tearing through hull metal as if it were foil. Everyone on board is acutely aware that in these reaches, one rogue rock could end the mission in an instant if not detected in time. Fortunately, the ship is not defenseless. Its hull is reinforced, and a faint energy shield shimmers at the bow, designed to vaporize or deflect micrometeoroids. For larger threats, the crew can deploy automated lasers to nudge or break up approaching rocks. As they navigate through the asteroid swarm, these systems stand ready, quietly ensuring that no unseen projectile catches them off guard. After tense minutes of careful maneuvering, the ship clears the main cluster of asteroids. The crew exhales in relief, but they know the void still holds other stealthy wanderers. Now and then, astronomers have predicted that rogue planets, entire worlds cast adrift from their stars, roam the galaxy unseen. Pitch black and frozen, such a planet could lurk in this darkness, and one might never know until it blotted out the stars behind it, or exerted a subtle gravitational pull. They picture such a wandering planet, a world cast into eternal night, its surface perhaps shrouded in ice under the faint light of distant stars. On the ground, there would be no day, only an endless black sky sprinkled with starlight, and the weak glow of galaxies beyond. It would be a silent, frozen realm, unvisited and unknown. The crew is quietly grateful that their path has not crossed such a dark world, though the thought of it sends a small shiver of wonder through them. The next invisible threat arrives not as a solid object, but as a vast, diffuse presence. Far ahead, the stars seem to dim and disappear, as if a piece of the night is even darker than the rest. Instruments report a gradual rise in background particles and a faint reduction in starlight penetration. It dawns on the crew that they are approaching a dark nebula, a cold molecular cloud drifting between the stars, virtually invisible and immense. The cloud is a Goliath of dust and gas, light years wide, but it emits no light of its own. Without nearby stars to backlight it, the nebula blends into the black backdrop of space. Its gas is molecular hydrogen and traces of other elements, frigid at only a few degrees above absolute zero. In its depths, new stars might one day ignite, but for now, it is just a sprawling mass of obscurity, a lurking fog bank in the cosmic night. Deep inside, chemical reactions quietly forge complex molecules on dust grains, raw material that could seed future suns and planets. The crew faces a decision: attempt to go through the cloud or alter course to avoid it. Flying through such a nebula could be risky. The density, though still incredibly low by earthly standards, is high enough to erode the ship's hull over long exposure and obscure navigation. In the cloud's interior, starlight would vanish entirely, leaving them blind and reliant solely on instruments. Even though the cloud's gas is nearly a vacuum by earthly standards, perhaps a few hundred atoms in a cubic centimetre, at the ship's high velocity, that is enough to pose a serious hazard over long distances. Though this detour will add extra time and distance, they agree it is far safer than plunging into an unpredictable murk. After some deliberation, they choose caution, steering the ship on a route that will skirt the fringes of this dark mass. As they veer away, the dark nebula looms off to one side like a wall of pure emptiness. Occasionally, the ship's sensors pick up a faint glow of infrared radiation from within the cloud, the only hint of light released by the cold dust when cosmic rays strike it. To human eyes, though, it remains a black void. The sight calls to mind the Coalsack Nebula, known to observers on Earth, a similar blot of darkness that ancient peoples marveled at, not realizing it was a cloud of dust blocking the stars. The crew watches in respectful silence as this colossal shadow slides by, thankful that it stays a silent spectator to their journey, rather than an all-enveloping shroud. These encounters reinforce a sobering truth. Not everything in space shines. The most dangerous things can be the ones you never see coming. A slumbering rock, a lightless world, a cloud of darkness. The crew remains vigilant, eyes on their instruments as much as on the stars. In the cosmic night, knowledge and caution are their best defense against the invisible threats that roam the void. They know that even with solid obstacles behind them, not all dangers are physical. In the stretches ahead, the challenges will be more elusive still. Not objects at all, but forces and waves that cannot be touched or seen. Space has its own kind of weather, storms of radiation and energy that arrive without warning. Steeling themselves once more, the crew prepares for this next invisible trial in their voyage. True to their expectations, the next adversity arrives without a single visible sign. At first, the journey seems peaceful again after the trials of rocks and darkness. But gradually, the crew notices subtle changes in their instruments. A rise in ambient radiation counts, tiny surges of static in the communication lines. The empty void ahead conceals a brewing tempest, not of clouds or dust, but of pure energy. Without warning, A wave of high-energy particles sweeps through the ship. There is no flash of light, no explosion, only the sudden spike of radiation alarms echoing on the bridge. It is as if an invisible gust has struck, a gale of charged particles flung at nearly light speed from some distant cosmic event. Some of these protons and nuclei carry energies beyond anything humans can produce, and they zip through space at almost the speed of light. The crew springs into action, initiating the ship's radiation protocols as they realize they have sailed into an interstellar storm. Loudspeakers calmly direct the crew to shelter in the most shielded parts of the ship. They move swiftly yet orderly, retreating to a radiation storm cellar nestled deep near the water tanks and supplies, natural barriers against particle rays. Non-essential systems are powered down to protect sensitive circuits, and automated shielding ramps up, generating magnetic fields to deflect charged particles. In essence, the ship hunkers down, weathering the onslaught much like an old sailing vessel battening the hatches in a gale. In moments like this, they are keenly aware that unlike Earth, protected by its thick atmosphere and magnetosphere, their only safeguard is the technology of their vessel. Time seems to slow to a crawl as they wait in the sheltered bay. Some crew members exchange hushed words, but mostly there is silence, broken only by the soft hum of ventilators and the occasional crackle on the comm. They feel no wind, no shudder. Physically, nothing betrays the raging storm outside. Yet each of them is acutely aware that countless invisible particles are penetrating the space around them. A deadly rain through which they trust their ship to carry them safe. As the invisible storm rages outside, the ship's instruments paint a vivid picture of what the crew cannot see. Sensors register torrents of high-energy particles slamming into the magnetic shield, producing cascades of secondary radiation. Invisible to human eyes, the ship's magnetic bubble dances with aurora-like currents as it fights off the charged intruders. Occasionally, a spike of static crackles over the comm, or a minor system reboots itself. Subtle reminders that a few energetic intruders have pierced their defenses. Each instance is fleeting and contained, but it underscores the ferocity of the forces battering the ship. Inside their sanctuary, a few crew members close their eyes and encounter a strange phenomenon. They see tiny flashes of light in the darkness of their vision. They know what this is: cosmic rays piercing their retinas, triggering brief sparkles that aren't really there. In training, they had heard of this curious phenomenon from Apollo astronauts decades ago. Now they are experiencing it firsthand. It's a reminder that even deep inside the ship, radiation is finding its way through. No one panics. They've trained for this, and the shielding is doing its job. But the experience of literally seeing the unseen is humbling and surreal. They speculate on the source of this cosmic tempest. Perhaps weeks or months ago, a distant star erupted in a flare, or a supernova's shockwave finally reached this region of space. The burst would have sent a swarm of high-speed particles racing outward, and now, across unimaginable distance, it has caught up with them. In the vast cosmic ocean, even events light years away can send ripples that are felt as storms by travelers like them. Perhaps it was the death of a distant star, a supernova whose light may have reached Earth centuries ago, and only now do its invisible effects buffet the ship. In a way, the crew feels a kinship with sailors of old Earth. Where ancient mariners braved tempests of wind and water, these explorers endure tempests of radiation and plasma. The howling wind and towering waves of the sea have their parallel in the invisible rush of particles and fluctuating magnetic fields around them. Lightning and thunder find their echo in the crackle of static and the blare of radiation alarms. Yet through all these tempests, past and present, it is preparation and perseverance that see voyagers through. They hold fast, trusting in their vessel to buffer them until the cosmic weather passes. Eventually, after many long hours, the radiation levels begin to fall. The cosmic storm blows itself out, and the barrage of high-energy particles dwindles to the normal background drizzle. A full diagnostic sweep finds only minor glitches to reset, confirming that their vessel weathered the storm unscathed. One by one, systems are brought back online, and the crew steps out from their shielded refuge. There is a collective sense of relief and quiet pride. Their precautions held, and they have ridden out one of the galaxy's wild weather events unscathed. Later, when they review their personal radiation badges, they find only a minor uptick, a quantifiable memory of the storm, well within safe limits. Stepping back onto the bridge, they gaze out at the starfield. It looks unchanged, serene and indifferent, as if no storm had ever blown through. Only their instruments' logs and their own memories mark that anything unusual happened here. This contrast between the furious unseen forces and the outward stillness of space impresses upon them once more how deceptive the void can be. Even on the calmest-looking day in interstellar space, a storm may be passing through. The danger has passed, leaving the crew both tired and exhilarated. They have survived the intangible fury of space weather. As they set course forward once again, a welcome sight greets them. Far ahead, sensors detect a steady point of light. It is a star, a small, warm star system lying in their path, a beacon of respite after the long stretch of darkness and storms. After so long in the starless void, the sight of a real sun fills the crew with quiet excitement. Gradually, the pinprick of light grows into a definite star ahead of them, golden and steady against the backdrop of night. It is a small, welcoming beacon in the vast darkness, a solitary sun, gently burning in the emptiness between galaxies. For the first time in what feels like ages, the travellers are coming home to daylight. As they draw nearer, the darkness around the ship gives way to a faint glow. Starlight begins to stream through the viewports, not as harsh as the sun of Earth, but warm and comforting nonetheless. Soon, they cross into the boundary of this star's domain, its heliosphere, where the gentle pressure of its solar wind pushes back the interstellar medium. Within this bubble of influence, the cosmic rays lessen, and the crew feels as though they have stepped into a safe harbour. Soon the ship is orbiting a planet in this lonely system, a rocky world somewhat like an aging Earth, though seemingly devoid of life. It lies at a comfortable distance from the star, and initial scans show polar ice and a thin atmosphere tinged with golden dust. For the first time since leaving home, the crew prepares to set foot on solid ground. Excitement is tempered by routine as they don their excursion suits, perform safety checks, and descend toward the planet's surface. The landing craft settles onto a silent plain under a soft, amber sky. When the engines fade, an uncanny stillness surrounds them. One by one, the explorers step out onto alien soil. Under their boots, real dirt and rock, tangible after so long drifting in weightlessness. Gravity gently tugs at their limbs, a welcome sensation that grounds them both literally and spiritually. The landscape is serene and austere. Golden light from the small sun washes over rolling hills of cinnamon-coloured sand and stone. In the distance, jagged mountains cast long blue-grey shadows, and above, a few wispy clouds catch the sunlight. A faint breeze stirs dust around their feet. After the absolute void of space, even this sparse atmosphere feels rich and comforting. The crew wanders a short distance from the lander, moving slowly, almost reverently. No urgent task presses at this moment. Instead, they allow themselves a rare pause. One astronaut lifts her visor for a brief moment to feel the star's warmth on her face. The air is thin and cool, carrying only a subtle mineral scent from distant frost. They exchange smiles, genuine, weary, grateful smiles that need no words over the comm. At the edge of a shallow crater, two crew members sit down on a smooth boulder. They watch their star, this gentle sun, hover above the horizon. It's smaller and dimmer than the sun of Earth, a dwarf star glowing a soft amber orange. As it nears setting, the sky blooms in muted shades of copper and rose, painting the barren land in tender colours. In this light, the harshness of the terrain softens. Above them, one of the planet's moons rises, a small icy orb that adds a gentle silver glow to the twilight. One of them speaks quietly, remarking that this place reminds him of sunset in a desert back home. The others nod, summoning distant memories of Earth's warm dusks. For a while, they share recollections. The sound of wind in terrestrial trees, the scent of rain on dry soil, the way city lights used to appear as stars came out. Though this world is lifeless and silent, it echoes those cherished experiences, just enough to soothe their homesickness. In the vast gulf of space, they have found a tiny reflection of home. Practical duties are not forgotten. Over the next day, the crew tends to their ship with the star's aid. They deploy solar arrays to bask in the sun's rays, replenishing power reserves drained by the long journey. Engineers inspect the hull under natural light, patching micro-meteoroid dents and fine-tuning sensors without the clumsy impediment of spacesuits. They extract water from subsurface ice, melting and filtering it to top up their life support stores. Each task is unhurried, almost meditative. Working with sunlight on their backs and firm ground underfoot is a welcome change. Inside the ship, they open the shutters to let the golden glow flood the cabins. Plants in the small hydroponic garden perk up, as if recognizing real daylight. The crew enjoys meals with the warmth of a sunbeam spilling through a porthole, a simple pleasure that lifts their spirits immeasurably. For a short while, life takes on a gentle normalcy they had nearly forgotten. That night, one crew member lingers outside alone, lying on her back in the soft dust and gazing up at the cosmos. Without a spacecraft window in the way, the stars are even sharper. The Milky Way's misty band and the faint blur of the target galaxy hang above as twin mysteries. She breathes in the cold, thin air and feels an unexpected peace. In that moment, on an alien world under unfamiliar stars, she experiences a profound connection to the universe that she cannot put into words. This respite does not last forever, but its impact is profound. After a couple of rotations on the planet's surface, 2 tranquil days and starry nights, the crew feels rested and refocused. They have breathed easier under a sky, slept in mild gravity with a horizon around them, and let their minds recover from the unending void. In their private journals, some describe this interlude as dreamlike. Others simply note how good it felt to stand in sunlight again. On the second evening, as the sun dips low and the temperature falls, they know it's time to move on. The mission beckons, and beyond this sanctuary, the journey continues. With reluctant resolve, they pack their equipment, seal up the collected resources, and take a final look at the tranquil expanse around them. Before departing, they leave a small token of their visit. On a flat stone near the landing site, they place a sealed capsule containing a handwritten note and a mission patch. It's a humble monument, unlikely ever to be found, but it feels right to honor this haven. In the letter they write of the gentle sun and silent ground that gave them rest, a message of gratitude left in the solitude of this world. The stars are beginning to emerge in the sky, including a faint, hazy glow that wasn't visible before. Their destination galaxy, looming ever larger ahead. Overhead, the misty arch of the Milky Way stretches across the sky, a spectral reminder of the home galaxy behind them. And low on the horizon, that hazy glow of the new galaxy seems to rise like a ghostly apparition, growing brighter with each passing day. Back aboard the spacecraft, they lift off gently from the planet's surface. In their star charts, they label this system Haven, a fitting name for the refuge it provided. Through the windows, they watch the quiet world recede below, returning to its eternal solitude. Soon the ship ascends into the blackness of space once more. The warm star that gave them comfort shrinks behind them, its light gradually dimming. It remains visible as a lonely amber spark in the distance, a kind guardian they leave behind in the midway deep. The crew offers silent thanks for its hospitality, knowing how fortunate they were to find an oasis here. As they set course onward, hearts and systems refreshed, the crew's gaze turns forward. Ahead, the once distant galaxy they've been travelling toward is now a prominent presence, a pale, ethereal swirl of stars and darkness against the void. It appears larger and more detailed than ever before, no longer just a faint smudge, but a vast island of light with spiral arms and a glowing core, beckoning and challenging in equal measure. Within that hostile galaxy lie the uncertainties and adventures of the next chapter of their voyage. With their ship repaired and their spirits renewed, the explorers plunge back into the sea of stars. The sanctuary of Haven fades behind them, and the unknown galaxy ahead grows ever larger, waiting to test their courage and curiosity. Carrying the warmth of their midway rest in their memories, they venture forth once more into the cosmic night, onward toward the heart of darkness, and whatever it may hold in store. As our journey continues, we cross an invisible threshold in space, leaving behind the relative calm of the outer regions. Ahead of us, the galaxy's spiral arm unfurls like a celestial highway, crowded with stars and energy. Instantly, we sense the change in our surroundings. The darkness of space is less empty now. Countless stars gleam all around, packed far more densely than we have ever seen. Our spacecraft glides onward, entering this hostile spiral arm with quiet determination. In our home region of space, the nearest stars lay light years apart, mere pinpoints scattered thinly across the void. But here, stars crowd the firmament in astonishing numbers. Through our observation dome, we see brilliant suns in every direction, some separated by only a fraction of a light year, cosmic neighbours huddled close. It is as if we have wandered from an isolated countryside into the bright heart of a bustling city of stars. With so many suns clustered together, their combined radiance bathes the void in a perpetual faint glow. Back near our sun, one might search through hundreds of cubic light years to find just one star. Here, a single cubic light year can contain two or more. Such dramatic crowding becomes our new reality as we venture deeper into this cosmic metropolis. In anticipation of this hazardous region, we had prepared our ship thoroughly. The hull's radiation shielding was reinforced, and our navigation charts updated with known danger zones. Still, theory is one thing and experience another. The crew moves quietly at their stations, each aware that vigilance is key now. Even routine operations are double-checked, A sense of careful focus pervades the ship. Despite the dangers, a feeling of excitement underlies our caution. We are among sights and phenomena few have ever witnessed firsthand. In this stellar crowd, the very space between stars is charged with energy. Streams of radiation wash over our ship from all directions. High-energy particles, flung out by nearby suns, streak through the void, pinging against our hull. We know that beyond our thick shielding lies a maelstrom of radiation that would be deadly to unprotected life. Yet inside, we feel only a gentle hum as our vessel's systems work to keep the hazardous rays at bay. The ambient starlight, too, is stronger here, a constant glow that dances across the control panels, reminding us of the power surrounding us. Outside our windows, the colours of the cosmos have grown richer. Clouds of interstellar gas drift nearby, aglow with the intense ultraviolet light from young stars. These nebulous veils shimmer in blues and purples, creating ethereal vistas against the black. They mark regions where new stars are born, but also serve as a reminder that in this active spiral arm, energy is everywhere, and tranquility is rare. Still, there is immense beauty in the chaos. Whirls of glowing gas and dust weave between the crowded stars, painting the darkness with gentle luminosity. In fact, we soon find ourselves traversing the edge of a star-forming nebula. Wisps of glowing gas surround us on one side, and within those clouds, we detect the faint infrared signatures of protostars coming to life. These newborn stars are still cocooned in dust, invisible to the eye, but revealed by our senses as warm, gentle stirrings in the cold. Occasionally, a flash of light signifies a newborn star igniting, shedding its shroud of gas. We marvel at the idea that we are witnessing stellar birth in real time, even as we know this same region harbours the seeds of stellar destruction. Creation and destruction live side by side in the hostile spiral arm. Instruments that once idled quietly now chatter with activity. Our sensors register constant surges, gamma rays from a distant flare, X-ray spikes from close binary stars exchanging matter, bursts of static from cosmic rays. The data feeds that were mostly empty in calmer space are now alive with warnings and readings. Each moment brings a new detection, reminding us that we have stepped into a living tapestry of cosmic events. We proceed carefully, adjusting our trajectory to avoid known hazards, aware that unseen dangers may still lurk in the dense stellar thickets ahead. For instance, to starboard, we glimpse a blue-white giant star, considerably larger and hotter than our Sun, shining with fierce intensity. Even at a distance of many light-years, it is one of the brightest points in our sky, a beacon of the spiral arm's vitality. This star pumps out torrents of ultraviolet radiation and stellar winds that shape the surrounding space. Our instruments report elevated readings whenever we face its direction. It serves as both a landmark and a warning. Massive stars like these live short, brilliant lives and can end in catastrophic explosions. We make sure to admire its splendor briefly, knowing such a titan of a star is as dangerous as it is beautiful. Not long after entering this region, we observe a nearby star unleashing a powerful flare. A wave of charged particles erupts from its surface, racing outward at incredible speed. We see the star's brightness spike for a short while, a beacon of turbulence. Our ship's monitors sound a soft alert as the flare's radiation arrives minutes later, a reminder of how swiftly light and particles traverse the void. The shields handle the onslaught gracefully, dimming the flare's impact to a harmless flicker of light on our hull. Such flares are common here, each a small preview of the greater cataclysms that also frequent these parts. In the hostile spiral arm, even larger eruptions of energy await. The stars here live fast and die young. Many are massive and burn their fuel in a scant few million years. We know that somewhere ahead, one of those giant stars may already be in its final throes. The thought is humbling. At any time, a star not unlike the Sun could detonate in a supernova, flooding surrounding space with deadly radiation. This is truly supernova country we have entered, a realm where the death of stars is not a distant possibility, but a frequent reality. As we journey further, signs of past stellar explosions begin to surround us. We pass by vast glowing clouds that are the tombstones of once mighty stars. These supernova remnants spread out like gossamer webs of colourful gas, expanding steadily into space. One such nebula drifts into view on our flank. Filaments of neon and oxygen shine in hues of red and green, a delicate shell that was blasted outward by an explosion ages ago. Within that ghostly haze lies the crushed core that the star left behind, perhaps a rapidly spinning pulsar sending out faint pulses of radiation. It is a beautiful, somber scene, the aftermath of violent death suspended in the silence of space. In one such shimmering remnant, we pick up a rhythmic signal hidden in the nebular glow. It is the telltale beacon of a pulsar, the rapidly spinning neutron star left behind by a supernova, sweeping beams of radiation through space. We tune our instruments to translate its radio pulses into sound, and for a few moments, the bridge fills with a soft, metronomic ticking. This cosmic heartbeat is both eerie and comforting, a reminder that even after death, a star's core lives on, sending its steady message into the void. Listening to it, we fall silent, each tick marking time on a geological scale as we slip past the cradle of that once mighty star. In this region, stellar death is part of the landscape. We move from one relic of destruction to another, each telling a story of cosmic finality. It is astonishing to consider that these tranquil appearing clouds were once the site of unfathomable violence. The core of a star collapsing, releasing an almost unimaginable burst of energy. The echoes of those blasts still travel through space as expanding shock waves and speeding atomic debris. Occasionally, our instruments detect a slight uptick in radiation, or a faint whiff of exotic particles, likely the dying echoes of an ancient supernova brushing past after a long journey through the galaxy. For days, as we travel, our crew keeps a wary eye on the most massive stars ahead. We have instruments specifically tuned to detect the subtle neutrino bursts or other warnings that precede a supernova, hoping for any early alert. The vast majority of supernovae strike without immediate warning, but our vigilance is constant nonetheless. Every bright, bloated star we pass is a reminder that it could be the next to go. This readiness becomes a background state of mind, an acceptance that at any moment the darkness could flare with catastrophic brilliance. And then the inevitable happens. A new supernova erupts in our vicinity. It begins as an unexpected brightening of a star that was an anonymous pinprick moments before. We notice it when the star suddenly outshines its neighbours, growing in luminosity with startling speed. Within minutes, it becomes a brilliant beacon in the distance, casting an eerie radiance across the backdrop of space. Although it is far enough away not to endanger us directly, our sensors register a furious spike of gamma rays and high-energy particles pouring from the explosion. Almost simultaneously, our neutrino instruments register a sudden flurry of detections, an invisible flood of ghostly particles from the star's collapsing core that passes through our ship and our bodies without a trace. We watch in stunned silence as the star dies before our eyes, a silent flash transforming into a swelling halo of debris. Our ship's automatic defenses spring into action the moment the supernova is detected. We see the external shutters on viewing ports slide into place, shielding us from the worst of the initial flash. Radiation dampers hum as they absorb the sudden gust of high-energy photons. Inside, the lights dim momentarily in response to the surge, but soon stabilize. We feel no heat or shock. The distance is too great for that, but we are acutely aware of the invisible storm of particles racing outward. Trusting our systems, we remain calm, marveling more at the spectacle than fearing it. In the safety of our vessel, we have witnessed one of the universe's most fearsome events and emerged unscathed. Over the following hours, we watch the supernova's aftermath unfold. The initial flash subsides, and where once there was a single point of light, there is now a diffuse cloud growing slowly. Through our telescopes, we can make out tendrils of glowing gas emanating from the explosion, the outer layers of the star being thrown into space. The expansion is almost imperceptible in real time, yet knowing what is occurring, we stare intently, cognizant that we are seeing a world change utterly in the blink of an eye. Had there been any planets around that star, they would now be scorched or gone entirely. The shockwave will continue to spread outward for years, a tsunami of particles and energy reshaping the cosmic neighborhood. The sight of this stellar death leaves us reflective and humbled. A star's end is the beginning of something new. Even as it is destroyed, it forges heavy elements and scatters them into space, seeding the clouds that will form future stars and planets. In that way, the supernova is not just an end, but a cosmic rebirth. We think of how the iron in our blood was once forged in such a dying star eons ago, and now we have watched that process unfold in real time from across the light years. The cycle of creation and destruction feels tangible out here. Each flash of death we witness is a reminder that the universe constantly renews itself amid chaos. For context, within this galaxy's more central regions, supernovae might occur dozens of times in a century, far outpacing the quiet rate in our home skies. Everywhere we look, we see evidence of these constant renewals. One nebula overlapping another, layers upon layers of stardust, enriching the space between suns. The cumulative effect of so many explosions over eons is a galaxy core enriched with heavy elements, a testament written in the spectra of starlight that we measure as we go. Each supernova adds to that cosmic heritage, forging calcium, iron, and gold among others, and hurling them outward to seed new worlds. Flying here, we witness not just destruction, but the ongoing process that ultimately yields the building blocks of planets and life. We press on, aware that somewhere not too distant, another star is nearing its doom. The knowledge adds a subtle tension to our voyage, an understanding that space here is not static, but eruptive, alive with dramatic change. However, rather than frightening, this realization fills us with awe. We are journeying through a cosmic storm where stars explode and new ones are born, privileged to glimpse these transformations as silent observers. Not every dying star simply fades into a cloud of gas. Some leave behind astonishing remnants, cinders of cosmic fire with extraordinary properties. In the wake of certain supernovae, the collapsed cores of stars survive as neutron stars, and a few of these neutron stars become magnetars, the most magnetic objects in the universe. We know from our briefings that a magnetar's field can be 1,000,000,000,000 times stronger than a typical star's magnetic field. These stellar remnants are tiny, perhaps 20 kilometers across, yet they contain more mass than our sun and spin rapidly in the darkness. Ahead of us lies a region where such magnetars lurk, an invisible minefield of intense magnetism, twisting the fabric of space. As we venture into the realm of the magnetars, we become aware of subtle changes in our spacecraft's behavior. The navigation system needs more frequent corrections, as if some unseen hand tugs at our trajectory. Our compasses, usually reliable even in interstellar space, begin to drift and quiver, confused by fields that our ship's instruments can barely comprehend. We dim the cabin lights to better see the faint glow of instrument panels, each flicker and oscillation telling us that we are approaching something profoundly powerful. Even though the magnetars themselves remain far off, their presence is felt in the very space around us, warping electromagnetic fields across vast distances. Before we ever see a magnetar, we sense it. The fabric of space seems to tremble with magnetic energy. Charged particles that permeate the galaxy are forced into spiraling paths around invisible field lines, creating a haze of faint light known as synchrotron radiation that our cameras can pick up. We notice this ethereal glow increasing, a telltale sign that a strong magnetic field lies ahead. It's as though we are approaching an unseen lighthouse whose beam we cannot see directly, but whose effects touch everything around it. We proceed slowly, careful not to stray too close to where the magnetic forces grow perilously intense. Miles and miles of emptiness separate us from the magnetar, yet distance is little comfort. In training, we learned that a magnetar's magnetic field could be lethal from thousands of kilometers away. The very atoms in a human body would distort, chemistry itself ceasing to function in such conditions. We will never come anywhere near that close, and yet we still treat this cosmic hazard with utmost respect. Our ship gives the magnetar a wide berth, ensuring we stay at a safe remove where the field is strong enough to notice, but not strong enough to harm. Still, knowing what could happen if we ventured closer sends a quiet chill through our thoughts, even in the warmth of our cabin. For perspective, on our home Earth, astronomers once observed a magnetar flare from across the galaxy in 2004 that briefly altered our atmosphere. Such power, unleashed from tens of thousands of light years away, was still detectable as a disturbance. We cannot forget this fact as we navigate much closer to such an object now. It commands respect and instills a sense of smallness in us. Here we are, approaching one of these cosmic powerhouses willingly, shielded only by our ingenuity and mettle, hoping it slumbers quietly as we pass. Passing through the fringes of a magnetar's domain feels surreal. The normally invisible magnetic field becomes almost palpable in its influence. We witness strange optical effects. Starlight passing near the magnetar emerges subtly altered, polarized by the intense field, as though the vacuum of space itself were a prism. At times, we catch sight of faint flickers or ghostly auroras in the distance, likely caused by charged particles spiraling along magnetic lines at near light speed. The space around us has taken on an otherworldly character, a reminder that even emptiness can be transformed by forces we can barely visualize. Quietly, we drift onward, respectful and observant, through this distorted region of space. After painstaking scans, we finally pinpoint the magnetar among the starfield. To our eyes it looks unremarkable, a distant, dim point of light, hardly different from countless others. But when we aim our high-frequency sensors at it, we see its true identity revealed. In X-rays and gamma rays, that point becomes a blinding beacon, outshining entire star clusters in those energetic wavelengths. It is a curious sight, something so dangerous appearing so modest in normal light, like a predator in camouflage. We observe it from afar, acknowledging how deceiving appearances can be in the cosmos. For hours, we skirt the edges of the magnetofields, keeping their heart at a safe distance off our port side. Occasionally, the magnetar announces itself with a sudden flare, not visible to our eyes but caught by our X-ray detectors. These flares are the so-called starquakes, cracks in the magnetar's crust, releasing torrents of energy. Each time one erupts, our monitors spike and then slowly settle as the burst passes. It's a stark reminder that we are witnessing a restless, slumbering monster from afar. Though we see nothing but the velvet darkness speckled with stars, we know one of those specks is a magnetar unleashing fury in brief, silent outbursts. As we leave the magnetar's immediate sphere of influence, our instruments gradually return to their normal readings. Compasses steady, and the subtle vibrations in our hull, perhaps imagined, perhaps real, fade away. We carry on with a sense of relief, but also admiration. We have passed by one of nature's most extreme wonders. There is a collective exhale among the crew, a release of tension we hadn't fully acknowledged. Yet our journey is far from over, and the path ahead is about to take us into an even more crowded and unpredictable cosmic arena. As we move on from the magnetar encounter, conversation on the bridge is hushed. Each of us is lost in private contemplation of what we have just skirted, a force of nature that defies ordinary experience. We speak quietly, almost in whispers, as though loud voices might somehow rouse the distant cosmic giant we left behind. In this reflective calm, we gain a fresh appreciation for the resilience of our ship and the fragility of our own presence in these extreme reaches. The journey has already tested us in unexpected ways, yet it has also rewarded us with indescribable sights. A few crew members retreat to make warm drinks or gaze out a porthole alone, settling their nerves. With renewed resolve, we turn our attention forward toward the next challenges hidden in the crowded starlight ahead. Before long, we find ourselves among an ever-thickening multitude of stars. The further we venture, the more populous the stellar population becomes, until space itself seems congested with suns. We are approaching a nexus of the galaxy where stars gather in unprecedented numbers, interacting in complex gravitational dances. Out here, isolation is a rarity. Nearly every direction we look, a star shines brilliantly just a short distance away in cosmic terms. At times, we can distinguish subtle motions, nearby stars shifting position against the background as they hurtle along their orbits. We have entered a realm of stellar crowds and close encounters. In this densely packed district of the galaxy, gravity's influence is chaotic and unpredictable. Each star tugs on its neighbors as they pass, like strangers brushing shoulders in a crowded street. Over millennia, these close gravitational encounters can drastically alter the paths of stars and any orbiting worlds. We imagine the fate of any planetary systems caught in this gravitational melee, planets flung from their orbits into the void, or stolen away to circle a new sun. The longer we travel here, the more we appreciate how orderly and stable the outskirts of a galaxy are by comparison. In this deep interior, change is the norm, and the fates of celestial bodies are woven together in a complex web. Ahead, our sensors highlight an especially tumultuous duo, a binary star system locked in a tight orbit. The two stars, one a red giant and the other a smaller blue-white star, are so close that they share a tenuous envelope of gas. With each orbit, the smaller star dips into the outer layers of its bloated companion, siphoning gas and forming a luminous accretion disk. We can actually see a spiral of glowing material between them, a bridge of light being tugged from one star to the other. The sight is breathtaking and unsettling. Such close interactions foreshadow eventual disaster. Perhaps the giant will one day be completely devoured by its partner, or the two will merge in a spectacular blast. For now, they dance in precarious balance, illustrating the delicate line between cosmic harmony and chaos. Our journey takes us near a cluster of stars, locked in a particularly tight embrace. Dozens of suns are crammed into a space so small that their collective light forms a continuous glow around us. This is like a miniature galaxy within the galaxy, a globular cluster perhaps, or a dense stellar clump that defies easy navigation. We maintain a respectful distance, skirting the periphery of the cluster to avoid being drawn in by its gravity. From afar, we watch as stars within it twinkle and dance around a common center, some in elongated orbits that carry them perilously close to one another. The scene is mesmerizing, a cosmic ballet of countless lights moving in silent harmony and tension. As we observe, we can't help but wonder about the worlds that might exist in this crowded place. Could there be planets here, circling stars in tight orbits, experiencing night skies blazing with 1,000 suns? If such worlds exist, their skies would never know true darkness. Every night would be aglow with nearby stars, each casting shadows of different colors. Truly, under such a sky, night would be more like a perpetual twilight. One could nearly read by the combined starlight. Life on those planets, if it had somehow arisen amidst the upheaval, would face challenges unknown to us. Deadly radiation from multiple nearby stars, gravitational instabilities disrupting seasons and climates. Perhaps few stable planetary systems survive in such conditions, but the possibility sparks our imagination. We silently contemplate the view from a hypothetical mountaintop on one of those worlds, bathed in a perpetual starlit twilight. Occasionally, our ship's path intersects debris that speaks to the violence of these close encounters. We pass a field of scattered asteroids and cometary fragments, likely the remains of a shattered world torn apart by tidal forces when two stars drifted too close. These pieces drift aimlessly now, glinting faintly as they reflect the light of multiple suns. In another instance, our long-range scanners pick up a lone object moving through interstellar space, a rogue planet cast out from its parent system. This solitary world wanders in the darkness, a victim of gravitational crossfire, and one of the countless rogue planets that drift through the galaxy unattached to any sun. We adjust our course gently to avoid the debris, mindful that space here is littered with the flotsam of cosmic collisions. Even stars themselves can be victims of these gravitational games. If a star wanders too close to the central black hole or gets caught in a multi-star tussle, it can be slingshotted out of the galaxy at phenomenal speeds. Astronomers once believed such hypervelocity stars were exceedingly rare, perhaps 1 per 100 millennia. But recent surveys reveal they are more common than expected. We wonder if any of the starlight around us belongs to one of these exiles, a sun on a one-way journey to intergalactic space. The thought of a solitary star, with any planets it might have, being cast out into the infinite dark is humbling. Here, nothing is permanent or safe. The entire galaxy is dynamic, and even stars can become wanderers. As we navigate, our computer continuously calculates the gravitational influences at play. It maps the shifting tapestry of forces from all nearby masses, updating our course to compensate. There are moments we feel a slight drift, as if the ship were being gently tugged sideways, an effect of an unseen massive object passing hundreds of AU away. Without our advanced navigation AI, piloting manually here would be nearly impossible. The gravity wells of stars overlap and contest each other, making the concept of a straight-line trajectory almost meaningless. We trust our systems and adjust course minute by minute, weaving through a maze of moving gravity fields. Despite the potential chaos, there is a profound calmness to flying through this crowded stellar city. The distances are so vast that, even in a swarm of stars, we are essentially gliding through a great darkness, punctuated by distant lights. The stars may be nearer to each other here than elsewhere, but they are still separated by trillions of miles. For now, none are on a collision course with us. They continue their ancient, predestined orbits around the galactic center, largely indifferent to our tiny vessel. We feel like quiet observers, drifting through a cosmic metropolis at midnight, surrounded by the lights of a billion windows, comforted by the knowledge that we can witness it all without disturbing the delicate gravitational choreography. As we venture further into this realm, the cumulative brilliance of all these stars begins to create a faint glow ahead of us. At first, it is just a subtle brightening of the cosmic sky in one direction, easily dismissed as the dense patch of stars we have been traveling through. But with each passing light year, that glow intensifies. We realize we are starting to see the combined light of the galactic core itself, peeking over the cosmic horizon. The core, the very heart of this galaxy, now announces its presence not as a single point, but as a diffuse luminescence bathing the surrounding space. It is an awe-inspiring sight, signaling that our voyage is bringing us to the threshold of the central abyss. The light of the galactic core grows ahead of us, transforming the character of the sky. Where once the darkness was relieved only by individual stars, now a milky glow spans the vista, a gentle aurora emanating from tens of thousands of clustered suns. We have travelled far enough that the core's collective radiance competes with the darkness of interstellar space. It is like approaching a distant city at night. Initially, just a haze on the horizon, now resolving into a bright presence that silhouettes the nearer stars. The glow paints the hull of our ship in a soft golden hue, and our faces too, as we gaze forward in quiet wonder. For the first time, we can discern structure in that glow. There is a bulge of light, slightly elongated, marking the central bulge of the galaxy, where stars are most densely packed. Around it, subtle dark patches swirl, likely vast clouds of interstellar dust lying between us and the core, absorbing some of the starlight. These dark ribbons create a mottled pattern across the glow, as if we are peering through cosmic clouds at a brilliant lantern. This interplay of light and shadow adds to the mystery of the view. We know that behind those veils of dust, the galactic center itself is teeming with wonders and dangers beyond anything we have yet seen. Looking closely, we realize the color of the core's glow is subtly different from the starlight we knew in the spiral arms. It has a warm golden cast, the signature of countless aging stars. Here in the inner bulge, most suns are ancient red and yellow giants, far older than the hot blue-white stars we encountered further out. Their combined light is gentler, like the amber embers of a cosmic hearth, rather than the stark white blaze of youthful stars. This golden tint gives the galactic center a deceptively tranquil appearance, as though it were a softer, kinder light, even while tremendous energies seethe beneath that glow. For a stark contrast, we turn our ship around briefly to compare the view. Looking back toward the outer galaxy and the emptiness beyond, space is dark and familiar, dotted with the sparse stars of the hinterlands. But turning forward again toward the core, the view is dominated by that pearly radiance. It feels as if we are approaching a cosmic dawn, leaving behind the midnight of deep space. The human part of us instinctively finds comfort in that rising light, as if the coming of a galactic day offers reassurance, even though we know it heralds the most extreme environment we've ever dared to enter. Our voyage has now brought us to a momentous sight. The very heart of darkness we set out to find is in sight, aglow. There is excitement and solemnity on the bridge. We dim the internal lights further to let our eyes fully adjust to the spectacle outside. The core's light is steady and ancient, a composite of countless stars whose individual lives blend into a single luminous tapestry. Somewhere in that radiant center lurks the supermassive black hole anchoring the galaxy, invisible but presiding over the orbits of all those stars. We cannot see it yet. It remains shrouded by distance and light, but we can feel the significance of its presence. In that direction lies the ultimate destination of our journey, and its faint glow now beckons us onward. Indeed, our radio receivers pick up a rising background hiss as we orient them toward the galactic center. It's the combined chorus of countless stars and energetic phenomena crowded together, a static that is in fact the music of the cosmos. Among the jumble of signals might even be the faint murmur of the supermassive black hole itself, wreathed in infalling matter at the core. We cannot decode this cacophony into individual voices. Instead, it washes over us as a uniform presence, a reminder that the light we see is only part of the story. In radio waves and X-rays and other unseen spectra, the core is speaking in a roar of activity, and our approaching ship is listening. Even as the core's glow grows brighter, we remain mindful of our surroundings. The star density here is at its peak. We are essentially on the outskirts of the central stellar swarm. It's crucial to navigate carefully, as gravity wells and radiation levels continue to increase the nearer we draw. Our ship's trajectory is plotted to thread through less congested lanes of space, avoiding known clusters and dense gas clouds. We have effectively arrived at the galaxy's central bulge, where the environment is as extreme as it is breathtaking. The protective systems hum steadily, countering elevated cosmic rays and shielding us from the harsh light of giant stars that occasionally blaze nearby. We proceed with both caution and wonder, fully aware that we are now truly in the galactic abyss. For a moment, we all pause to simply take in the view. The forward observation window is filled with a gentle radiance, unlike any we have seen before. It is not the piercing light of a single star, but the collective glow of millions, blended into a diffuse golden haze. We float in silence, feeling a connection to the center of this galaxy, a place so far from any home we have known. There is a meditative calm in this pause, a sense that time has slowed in deference to the grandeur before us. Each of us is lost in our thoughts, perhaps marveling at how small we are, yet how far we've come. The hostile galaxy's heart is not just hostile, it is mesmerizing, a light in the darkness that draws us onward. In this moment of stillness, some of us find our thoughts drifting to where we came from, the small, blue planet we left so far behind. That distant sun, once our warm beacon, is now just another faint star, hidden in the overwhelm of the galaxy's light. Yet in our hearts, it remains unique, the gentle center of our personal universe. Here we are, in the midst of unimaginable brilliance, and we carry the memory of our humble home with us. The contrast between that quiet haven and the cosmic tempest around us is profound, sharpening our sense of wonder and purpose. It feels as though by venturing into this luminous core, we are paying tribute to the solitude and safety of the place we originated from. Soon, we must continue and make our final approach towards that glowing core. We know that greater challenges likely await us there. Intense gravitational forces, swirling clouds of charged particles, and the central black hole's domain. But at this moment, there is no fear, only a deep curiosity and a steady resolve. The wonders we have witnessed in the spiral arm, through supernova country, past magnetofields, and dense stellar congregations, have prepared us for whatever lies ahead. With one last look at the surrounding stars, now mere lanterns guiding us to the galactic center, we set our course directly for the luminous heart. Our journey through the hostile galaxy continues as we move ever closer to the ultimate darkness and the dawn that comes with understanding it. Our journey carries us deeper into the galaxy's interior, and with each passing day, the very texture of space seems to change around us. The darkness ahead is not so empty now. It quivers with unseen influences. Occasionally, a far-off star's position wavers oddly, as if viewed through rippling water. Starlight bends into faint arcs for a brief moment before settling back, leaving us to wonder at the cause. In these subtle distortions, we recognize a silent threat lurking in the void. We have entered a realm teeming with hidden gravity wells. The realization dawns slowly but surely. We are now drifting through black hole territory. All around us, invisible celestial traps lie in wait, remnants of giant stars that lived and died in ages past. These stellar mass black holes roam the galactic core's outskirts, dark and unassuming, detectable only by the disturbances they inflict on their surroundings. Though our eyes see nothing but empty darkness where they lurk, our instruments sense the truth. Sensitive gravitational detectors register slight anomalies, a gentle tug here, a minute warping of spacetime there, evidence that a massive unseen object is passing nearby. We move with utmost caution through this part of space, aware that countless unseen black holes may encircle us at any time. Each is a collapsed star, a sun that exhausted its life and imploded into a point of unfathomable density. Now they wander as silent predators. Some drift alone, isolated and quiescent, betraying their presence only when their gravity lenses the light of distant stars in passing. Others are not so solitary. They have captured companion stars, ensnaring them in tight orbits and slowly siphoning their life. These pairs announce themselves in flickers of high-energy radiation that our sensors occasionally pick up, a subtle burst of X-rays or gamma rays cutting through the background hiss. Whenever we detect such a signal, we know a black hole is feasting nearby. Drifting in this darkness, we cannot help but reflect on how many of these gravitational phantoms surround us. Astronomers long suspected that the heart of any galaxy might be swarming with black holes. And here, amid the core's shadow, that theory comes alive around us. There may be tens of thousands of these invisible singularities congregating in the central few light years. Our minds grapple with that number. In the vast expanse of the whole galaxy, black holes are rare. Only a handful have been catalogued across the spiral arms. Yet here, in this cramped cosmic neighborhood, close to the central supermassive black hole, they gather like embers around a flame. The enormous gravity at the galactic core draws them in over eons, forming a hidden congregation of darkness. We peer out the viewport into what looks like an ordinary starry void, but we know it is deceptively calm. At any given moment, we might be skimming past an invisible abyss, mere light weeks or light days away. The thought sends a quiet shiver through us. Our ship's path is carefully plotted to avoid known gravitational wells, but not all can be catalogued. Many black holes announce themselves only by chance encounters. We rely on vigilance and instruments tuned to the distortions of space. Every so often, an alarm chimes softly, indicating a perturbation ahead. We adjust course fractionally, trusting our technology to guide us safely past whatever invisible pit lies in the darkness. In this region, navigation takes on an eerie quality. We are like travelers crossing a minefield in the dark, guided only by faint hints and intuition. The black holes themselves are utterly lightless. They reflect no glow, emit no visible beam to mark their presence. And so we steer carefully between these gravitational mines, aware that a single miscalculation could draw us into the grasp of one of these dark objects. The prospect is sobering. Fall too close to a black hole, and there is no escape. We would be pulled inexorably inward, our fate sealed by physics as immutable as time. Yet strangely, the mood on board remains calm and contemplative rather than fearful. We prepared for this possibility and accept it as part of venturing so deep into the galaxy's core. As we glide onward, the evidence of these unseen neighbours continues to reveal itself in subtle ways. Now and then, we pass through an area where ghostly wisps of gas are faintly visible, illuminated by starlight. These could be the shredded remnants of a star that strayed too near a black hole and was torn apart, scattering its essence into space. In our imaginations, we picture the tragic scene that might have occurred. A sun wandering into the jaws of darkness, being stretched and shredded by relentless tidal forces. What remains is a tenuous cloud of gas, gently glowing, as if the lost star left a final echo of its presence. Scenes like this remind us that this is indeed a dangerous neighborhood, where even the brightest stars can meet a sudden end. Occasionally, we detect something even more astonishing, a brief ripple in the fabric of spacetime itself, like a faint tremor passing through the cosmos. It is so subtle that only our most sensitive equipment notices it, a passing gravitational wave possibly triggered by distant black holes merging. When two of these dark wanderers collide and coalesce somewhere in this region, they send out a shudder through space-time that propagates outward. We catch only the tail end of such an event, a mere whisper from a titanic collision that might have happened months or years ago, dozens of light years away. The quiet emptiness can carry the memory of cataclysms. This gives us pause, filling us with reverence for the powerful invisible drama unfolding around us. We continue onward, our ship a small speck moving carefully among giants in the dark. The deeper we venture, the more numerous these black holes are expected to become. We recall how scientists likened this region to a kind of cosmic graveyard and breeding ground combined. Here, massive stars are born from dense gas, live brilliant but brief lives, and die as black holes, adding to the population. Over time, others that formed further out drift inward, ensnared by the central gravitational pull, joining this collection. Now they form a sort of halo around the galactic nucleus, an invisible assembly of collapsed stars circling the supermassive black hole that dominates the core. Visualizing it in our minds is both eerie and awe-inspiring. We try to imagine space around us dotted with countless invisible spheres of pure gravity, each perhaps only a few tens of kilometers across, yet massive enough to trap light. They would be scattered all around us, some solitary, others with captive stars orbiting them like moths around a flame. We see none of this with our eyes. Only the ordinary stars are visible. But knowing what lies hidden changes our perception of every point of light. We wonder, is that bright star ahead truly alone? Or does it dance with an unseen black hole? Could it one day be drawn in and devoured by its dark companion? Such questions arise naturally as we gaze out, reminded that appearances here can be deceiving. One evening, as we float in a relative lull, we observe a curious phenomenon that holds our attention. Off to port, not far from a dense cluster of stars, we notice a star that seems to flicker oddly in brightness. It dims and brightens at regular intervals, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. Intrigued, we train our telescopes on it and realize we are witnessing an eclipsing binary system, but not an ordinary one. The visible star's light is periodically being swallowed as something dark passes in front of it. The timing and regularity suggest the dark object is a black hole in orbit around the star, each eclipse occurring when the black hole swings between the star and us. Although the black hole itself emits no light, its gravitational field warps the star's light in complex ways, causing that unique flicker. We watch with fascination as, every so often, the star's glow dips, only to return moments later. It is as if the star is winking at us, hinting at the dark companion that our eyes cannot see. Moments like this drive home the reality of our environment. We are surrounded by binary dances of light and darkness. Some of these duets are peaceful, like the one we just observed. The black hole in that system might not be actively consuming the star, only orbiting quietly. In other cases, the dance is more violent. A black hole can siphon gas from its stellar partner, forming a hot accretion disk that radiates intensely. We keep watch for such telltale signs: a patch of X-rays indicating an accretion disk, or a jet of particles from a microquasar spewing into space. So far, in our immediate vicinity, we have been spared the direct fury of those interactions. But the knowledge that they occur all around us adds a layer of tension beneath our otherwise tranquil voyage. Despite the latent danger, there's an odd serenity to this place as well. Outside, the stars continue to shine steadily, unconcerned with the invisible darkness near them. Within our craft, lights are dimmed to reduce glare on our instruments, and we often sit quietly at the observation ports, whispering our thoughts. Knowing that immense, invisible forces surround us fosters a sense of humility. We feel small, not in a fearful way, but in a respectful way, humbled by the scale and mystery of what lies around us. Here, in the cradle of the galaxy, the life and death of stars are playing out in slow-motion silence. Our own lives, by comparison, are brief flickers, but we are grateful to witness even a small part of this grand cosmic theatre. As we progress, our eyes grow more adept at catching subtle hints of black holes indirectly. The distortion of starlight, the behavior of gas clouds, or the dance of binary stars, these become familiar motifs. Each clue deepens the narrative of this territory. In a way, we start to sense an underlying structure amid the darkness. Perhaps unconsciously, we map where a hidden mass likely lurks and steer around it, much as ancient mariners learned to read unseen shoals by the patterns on water. Navigating the core's outskirts becomes an intuitive art as much as a science, blending our technology's data with our own growing feel for the environment. All the while, a question looms quietly in our minds. What role do all these black holes play in the larger cosmic ecosystem of the galaxy's heart? They are not merely hazards for travelers like us. They are part of the life cycle of this galactic core. Each black hole was once a star that perhaps lit its surroundings, possibly nurturing planets or even life, before collapsing. Now, as a black hole, it might influence new star formation by stirring up gas or merging with other remnants. We realize that even in their darkness, they contribute to the evolving story of this galaxy. They are part of the anatomy of the core, much as bones might lie hidden beneath flesh, providing structure out of sight. This reflection comforts us in an unexpected way. It reminds us that what is dangerous and dark to us might still have purpose and place in the grand design of the cosmos. The black holes, formidable as they are, help shape the environment that has fascinated and drawn us here. With that thought, our fear recedes further, replaced by a deep respect. These objects challenge our understanding and demand caution, but they also teach us about extremes of physics and the endurance of gravity. They are teachers as much as threats. We learn to coexist with the knowledge of them as we journey on. The star field ahead grows denser as we inch nearer to the galactic center. And with it, the number of black holes is bound to increase as well. Yet we find ourselves less anxious and more observant, ready to perceive the slightest signs of their presence. It strikes us that darkness itself has become something we can read, an inversion of normal experience, where one typically looks for light. Here we look for darkness by looking at how light behaves around it. It is a lesson in indirect seeing, understanding something by its influence rather than its appearance. In the quiet stillness of our cabin, one of us remarks softly that this is akin to the way we sometimes understand people or events, not by what is plainly visible, but by subtle effects and traces left behind. The comment hangs in the air as a philosophical musing brought on by our surroundings. Indeed, travelling through black hole territory has turned into a meditation of sorts. The external silence, the hidden dangers, the need for patience and perception, all of it encourages a reflective state of mind. We proceed slowly, both out of necessity and out of a wish to absorb this experience fully. There is no rush. We have come to appreciate moving deliberately, each moment rich with discovery if one knows how to look. Time itself seems to stretch in this starlit darkness. Without dramatic changes or clear visual markers, hours blend into one another. Our voyage through the black hole territory feels almost suspended in its own bubble of time. Appropriate given that black holes themselves are infamous for warping time's flow. In our case, it is only a psychological effect. Yet we cannot help but wonder what true relativistic time dilation might be like closer to one of those beasts. Perhaps later in our journey, near the very central black hole, we will brush against that experience. The thought is both thrilling and slightly unnerving. For now, though, we remain in the realm where such effects are negligible, content to let our minds wander on the possibilities. Gradually, we notice another change creeping into our environment, a sign that our journey is about to progress beyond this invisible minefield of drifting black holes. The change comes as a soft radiance beginning to suffuse the space around us. At first, it's barely noticeable, a gentle lightening of the absolute dark that once dominated the view. It's as though the cosmic night is giving way to a diffuse twilight. We realize that this glow is coming from ahead, towards the galactic center, and it signals the presence of something new. Even as the black holes continue to lurk in the foreground, this nascent glow draws our attention forward. Unseen, countless stars and energetic phenomena at the core are brightening the void. We have navigated carefully through the black hole territory, and now a new vista beckons, one suffused with light and energy, heralding the next leg of our odyssey. The faint glow ahead intensifies as we advance, gradually resolving into distinct shapes amid the darkness. What began as a mere hint of light becomes a spectacle dominating our forward view. We soon discern the source of this radiance, an immense, brilliant beam of energy piercing the cosmic night. It stretches outward from the galactic core like a luminous pillar, straight and unwavering, reaching far above the plane of the galaxy. In silent astonishment, we behold this relativistic jet, a cosmic lighthouse shining from the heart of darkness, so intense that it challenges our eyes even across the vast distance. Emerging from near the central black hole, this jet is matter and energy propelled to nearly the speed of light. Superheated plasma, guided by powerful magnetic fields, is hurled out from the accretion disk around the black hole and collimated into a narrow stream. The result is a beam that can traverse tens of thousands of light years, drilling through the interstellar medium and beyond. We observe it in awe, for it is not a gentle beam. It is fierce and brilliant, glowing in a bluish-white hue to our eyes, with a core of blinding brightness. It reminds us of a cosmic sword, or perhaps a geyser of light erupting from the galactic nucleus. As our ship edges closer, we become enveloped in the pervading energy field emanating from this phenomenon. Even from afar, the jet's influence is palpable. Instruments aboard start registering heightened levels of radiation across the spectrum. Intense radio waves, X-rays, and gamma rays all streaming from that direction. We quickly adjust our shields and reorient some sensors, making sure we don't inadvertently expose any critical systems to the onslaught of high-energy particles. The cabin lights dim slightly, automatically responding to protect our eyes should the outside glare increase further. Through protective filters, we continue to watch the jet, transfixed by its raw power and beauty. The jet's appearance is mesmerizing. Near its base, close to the core, it is tightly collimated, a sharply defined beam emerging from a brilliant haze where the black hole's accretion disk likely glows fiercely. As the jet extends outward into space, it stays remarkably narrow for a tremendous distance, testament to the strong magnetic fields confining it. We trace its line as it shoots far above the galactic plane. Eventually, at distances incomprehensible to us, it will broaden and disperse, dumping its energy into the tenuous gas of the galaxy's halo. But from our vantage, it seems almost infinite, a line drawn straight through the heavens. We know a similar beam is likely shooting in the opposite direction as well, down below the galactic plane, a twin jet completing the symmetrical outflow from the core. Though we cannot see its counterpart at the moment, the knowledge of its presence completes the mental image of a galaxy with two incandescent horns of light. An eerie silence pervades our ship as we collectively absorb this view. Of course, in space, everything is silent. The jet, for all its violence, produces no audible sound in the vacuum. But it's as if we too are struck mute by its grandeur. In whispers, we exchange impressions. One of us likens the scene to witnessing a cosmic volcano, where instead of molten rock, It is pure energy erupting. Another suggests it's like an umbilical cord of the galaxy, connecting the central black hole to far-flung regions, feeding energy into the galactic ecosystem. These analogies only partly capture the reality. Nothing quite prepares you for the sight of a relativistic jet firsthand. We proceed carefully, mindful that this brilliant beacon is also a harbinger of danger. The radiation within that beam would be fatal to unshielded life and destructive to electronics. We keep a respectful distance, ensuring our trajectory does not intersect the jet's direct path. Our course takes us along a route that offers a clear view without putting us too near its core. Even so, the periphery of the jet's influence is significant. We pass through regions where high-energy particles from the jet have diffused outward, creating a background haze of radiation. It's nothing our vessel's shielding cannot handle, but the readings remind us that we are skirting a truly formidable phenomenon. As we draw nearer to the source, the jet's brilliance illuminates the surrounding space in stark contrast. We can see, faintly, the reflection of its light off nearby gas clouds and dust lanes. Wisps of matter that float between the stars are set aglow when touched by the jet's radiation, revealing ethereal shapes around us. There is a dynamic interplay of light and shadow as well. Parts of space remain in darkness, sheltered behind dense clumps of dust, while others are flooded with the jet's glow. It creates an almost otherworldly vista of bright patches and dark silhouettes all around, as if we were navigating through a chiaroscuro painting on a cosmic scale. We are mindful that the jet's visual beauty is only one facet. Along its length, tremendous energies are at work. Electrons gyrating in magnetic fields produce intense radio waves, contributing to the background sea of radio noise that fills this region of space. Closer to its origin, the jet likely emits strong X-rays and gamma rays from shock fronts and collisions within the streaming plasma. Occasionally, turbulence within the jet causes it to wobble or flicker. We can observe slight variations in its brightness as knots of plasma form and dissipate, or as magnetic fields realign and cause brief surges. Each fluctuation travels outward along the beam like a ripple moving up a fire hose. By the time these ripples reach the terminus of the jet, tens of thousands of light years away, they might be weaker. But here near the source, they can cause notable changes in intensity over time. At one point, we witness a striking event. A sudden flare brightens the jet's base, and moments later, a wave of light propagates upward along the column like a pulse. It's likely an eruption from the accretion disk, a large gulp of matter swallowed by the black hole that has channeled energy into the jet. Though it moves at nearly light speed, we can track this brilliant pulse as it shoots outward until it vanishes into the distant reaches of space. The scale of what we observe is staggering. That pulse will travel for tens of thousands of years before it dissipates, a signal of the core's upheaval now woven into the jet streaming outward. The presence of the jet also offers a stark reminder of the black hole's ferocious appetite at the core. For such a beam to exist, the central black hole must be actively feeding on matter. Gas, dust, perhaps entire stars that ventured too close. As that matter swirls into the accretion disk, the intense forces and friction heat it to incandescent temperatures, generating light and particles that either fall into the abyss or get flung outward. The jets are born from that chaotic maelstrom around the black hole. It's humbling to realize that we are essentially observing an engine of creation and destruction combined. The black hole devours matter, and in the process, it powers these magnificent jets that pour energy back into the galaxy. Our thoughts wander to the far ends of these jets, where each jet plows into intergalactic space, It inflates huge lobes or bubbles of energized gas that shine in radio waves. Over millions of years, the jets create these immense structures, filling the surrounding space with high-energy particles and magnetic fields. We cannot see those distant lobes from here, but we imagine them far beyond the galaxy's visible edges, billowing like ghostly wings that mark an active galactic nucleus. From inside the galaxy, the jet appears as a narrow beam. An outside observer with radio eyes would perceive the full grandeur of its impact, like a massive flower blooming from the galactic center. The closer we get, the more detail emerges at the jet's base. We begin to glimpse a hint of the accretion disk around the black hole as a subtle broadening of light at the jet's origin. A diffuse glow and occasional flickers betray the tumultuous environment of the core. The jet's connection to that disk is not directly visible. A narrow funnel seems to rise from within the glow. We cannot yet see the disk itself, nor the black hole. But knowing they are there, generating this phenomenon, is exhilarating. We are approaching one of the most extreme environments in the universe, cautiously inching forward, like coming near a roaring bonfire, to feel its heat while staying just outside the flame's reach. Despite our precautions, our communication systems still encounter interference. The static in our radios grows stronger as the jet's radio output adds to the core's cacophony. We constantly filter and fine-tune our instruments to keep communications and telemetry clear. Occasionally, a burst of noise crackles through our speakers in sync with a flare we witness in the jet. Correlating what we see outside with these immediate effects on our equipment is a strange feeling. It drives home how physically connected everything is. An event near the black hole announces itself to us almost instantaneously via electromagnetic disturbance. Through all this, we maintain an almost meditative watchfulness. Rather than racing through this region, we often find ourselves pausing the ship's forward thrust to simply hover and observe safely from one spot before proceeding. These are moments of profound contemplation. We gaze at the jet, and beyond it, at the dense star field of the central galaxy, and we feel as though we are glimpsing the very heartbeat of this galaxy. The jet pulses and streams like blood from a wound, or perhaps energy from a cosmic heart, sustaining the galaxy in ways still being understood. For instance, the energy thrown out might trigger new star formation in distant clouds by compressing gas. Or conversely, it might heat gas and prevent stars from forming too readily, thus regulating the galaxy's growth. The jet is an agent of feedback, a way the central black hole asserts its presence over the entire galaxy. In a sense, it is the galaxy's way of talking to the universe, broadcasting the fact that it has an active, lively core. We cannot help but feel a slight tingle of trepidation mixed with excitement as we prepare to navigate past this colossal beam of energy. Our path will take us near the periphery of the jet's column, close enough to peer into its structure, but hopefully far enough to avoid the worst of its wrath. In planning this maneuver, we run through simulations and double-check our shields. We angle our approach such that the jet remains off our starboard side, a blazing line in the sky rather than straight ahead. This orientation helps minimize direct exposure. We are effectively treating the jet like a dangerous river current, crossing near a calm eddy rather than directly through the rapids. With everything ready, we execute a gentle burn of our thrusters. The ship slides sideways relative to the jet's direction, giving us an even broader view of its length. For a time, we ride alongside the beam, matching a portion of its path. It is a surreal experience. To our port side lies the bulk of the galaxy, the dense central region we are aimed toward, and to our starboard side is this radiant column tracing a path out of the galaxy. It's as if we sail at dusk, with a bright aurora on one horizon and the glow of a distant city on the other. The jet's light casts long, faint shadows within our ship whenever it flares, and paints one side of our faces in a pale glow as we gaze out. We spend long minutes in this configuration, studying the jet. We take as much data as we can, measurements of its composition, spectra of its light, readings of magnetic field fluctuations. Scientific curiosity runs high among us. These observations could be invaluable for understanding how such jets work up close. Yet amid the note-taking and technical focus, no one forgets to simply experience its wonder. We alternate between analytical discussions and silent appreciation. At one point, we turn off non-essential lights and screens to reduce reflections, and just float in darkness observing the cosmic beacon. It feels almost like a spiritual moment, as though in the presence of something elemental and larger than life. Eventually, we know we must continue on our journey, leaving the immediate vicinity of the jet. Gently, we adjust our trajectory to pull away from the jet's side. As we do, the intense brightness gradually diminishes behind us, but not all at once. Even as we angle away, we catch glimpses of the jet for a long while, like a receding pillar of light in the rear view of our minds. It will remain visible as a bright feature in our sky for a considerable portion of our upcoming travels, a reminder and a guidepost. But now, our attention turns to what lies ahead once more. There are other aspects of this galactic heart that demand our focus, not as singularly dazzling as the jet, perhaps, but equally pervasive and intriguing. With the brilliant beam now behind us, space around us is suddenly awash with energy, even in directions where no star is visible. A constant background hum fills our instruments, a sea of radio noise and electromagnetic whispers emanating from every quarter. Having left the jet's raging river, we find ourselves drifting into a vast ocean of radiation permeating the inner galaxy. We share glances. We have crossed into another distinct layer of the core's shadow, not defined by singular monsters like black holes or dramatic structures like jets, but by the collective chorus of countless sources. Our voyage continues into this domain, where space itself seems alive with murmurs and echoes of a million voices. Floating in this inner region, we soon become keenly aware that the silence of deep space is truly behind us. In its place is a pervasive background hum that our instruments translate into sound for our human ears, a constant murmur of radio waves washing over our ship. It's as if we have entered a vast sea and can hear the distant roar of cosmic surf all around. In reality, this is the collective noise of countless electromagnetic emissions overlapping and filling space with a low, steady hiss. We listen quietly, each of us imagining the multitude of sources contributing to this cosmic chorus. The radio noise is not entirely uniform. Within the steady hiss, we catch subtle variations, hints of individual voices in the crowd. There are faint cracklings and pops, likely from distant flares of energy or sudden events like star flares or the last gasps of tiny supernova remnants. Occasionally, a regular, rhythmic ticking emerges, the hallmark of a pulsar's beacon. Pulsars are rapidly spinning neutron stars that beam out lighthouse-like signals, and here near the core, there are more of them than in the outskirts. When we tune our receiver just right, one of these pulsar signals comes through clearly, a fast and steady beat that sounds almost musical in its precision. It's astonishing to realize that this is the dying song of a stellar corpse spinning hundreds of times per second, broadcasting across the galaxy. We let its rhythm wash over us for a while, a cosmic metronome pulsing in the endless night. Apart from pulsars, the jets we saw earlier are significant contributors to this radio sea. The electrons spiraling through the jet's magnetic fields generate strong radio waves, a static that permeates the area. Even though we have moved away from the jet's immediate vicinity, its presence is still felt as an underlying layer of static in the background noise. It is as if the jet's roar has diffused into a persistent whisper all around us. We realize that wherever we go in this inner region, some part of that jet's energy will be with us, carried on radio waves that have spread far and wide. Another source of the murmur comes from the multitude of past stellar explosions that have occurred near the galactic center. Over the eons, many massive stars in this dense region lived short, brilliant lives and ended in supernova. The remnants of these cataclysms, expanding shells of gas and magnetic fields, still emit radio waves as they interact with the surrounding medium. We cannot see these supernova remnants directly with our eyes, but our instruments occasionally map them as faint radio-emitting bubbles or filaments in space. They are like ghostly echoes of long-ago explosions, still whispering their story into the void. We float through this environment aware that around us are the echoes of countless ancient deaths and transformations, all superimposed into a gentle static. Our communication devices, which once only picked up the faint hum of the universe's background, are now saturated with these local noises. We adjust frequencies and employ noise-cancelling algorithms to keep our own lines of communication clear. It feels a bit like trying to talk in a crowded hall. One must speak louder or find a quieter corner of the spectrum. We have become adept at finding those quiet pockets in frequency space, transmitting between the loud bands of natural static. Still, there is a sense that true silence is now far behind us. Even when we manage to tune out the noise for practical purposes, the knowledge of its presence is inescapable. Space here has a voice. At times we purposefully let the noise in, allowing ourselves to listen to the universe's babble as a form of scientific eavesdropping, and strangely, as ambient sound for contemplation. The constant hiss with occasional modulations becomes the soundtrack to our journey. Some of us find it oddly soothing, like a form of cosmic white noise that lulls the mind into reflection. Others remain vigilant, ears almost expecting to catch something significant, a pattern or message hidden within the noise. After all, humans have a tendency to search for meaning in randomness, and with so many overlapping signals, it's tempting to believe one might discern a deliberate message or a unique event. The imagination can run wild. One could fancy that the whispers in the static are messages from long-lost civilizations, or the murmured secrets of the galaxy itself. We know rationally that most of it is natural electromagnetic noise, yet the sheer abundance of it makes space feel less empty, more intimate. It is as though the galaxy is telling us its story in 100 languages at once, but too softly and too jumbled to fully comprehend. We catch only snippets of each tale, the heartbeat of a pulsar, the distant crackle of a magnetar flaring, the broad hiss of electrons dancing in magnetic fields. Each sound is a clue, a line from a different chapter of the core's history. One moment, our instruments detect an unusual burst cutting through the background, a sudden spike of radio energy that rises and falls within seconds. We all perk up at the readings. It could be one of the mysterious radio transients astronomers have occasionally observed from Earth, odd signals that appear from the direction of the galactic center with no immediately known cause. The burst happens again minutes later, not periodic enough to be a typical pulsar, not strong enough to suggest a catastrophic event like a supernova. It's just a bizarre, possibly intermittent source. In our vessel, we silently acknowledge that we've just witnessed one of those cosmic mysteries firsthand. Without immediate means to investigate it closely, we log the data and exchange excited theories. Perhaps it's a magnetar, a highly magnetized neutron star, undergoing a sudden reconfiguration of its magnetic field and releasing a burst of energy. Or it might be something even stranger, a type of object that thus far eludes full explanation. For a while, our conversation centers on this enigma, marveling that even here, surrounded by known wonders, the galaxy can still surprise us with the unknown. As we travel further, we notice the background noise shifting in character depending on the region. Passing near a cluster of young stars yields a slight increase in radio output from stellar flares and winds. Those hot, massive stars have strong outflows and magnetic activity, so the static crackles a bit louder as we approach that bustling neighborhood. In contrast, moving through a vast molecular cloud, the radio noise dampens. Such clouds absorb certain frequencies or simply remain quieter zones if undisturbed. We realize that even the radio noise has its own landscape of louder and quieter patches, much like how visible starlight varies with the density of stars and nebula. The core of the galaxy is not just visually bright, it is alive across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. We are now enveloped in its radio glow, just as we will soon be bathed in its visible and infrared light in the photon fog ahead. The radio sea we find ourselves in underscores how multifaceted this environment is. If we had only our eyes, we might register the growing brightness of the central star fields. If we had only radio ears, we would note this constant sound we're describing now. And if we had X-ray eyes, we would likewise see a sky ablaze with high-energy spots and flashes from things like X-ray binaries and the accreting core. Our instruments indeed cover those ranges too, and they indicate that all around there are bursts of X-rays, like distant fireworks going off at random intervals. Each wavelength tells a different aspect of the story, but the radio domain is special in how it carries the blended multitude of them all, steadied into an ongoing murmur. To visualize the sounds, we generate maps from the radio data. On a screen, the radio sky shows bright blotches where emissions peak. Perhaps a pulsar here, a supernova remnant there, or the glow of the jet's base in another direction. There are filaments too, strangely linear features that astronomers have detected near the galactic center, and we see hints of them as well. These may be long magnetized strands, tens of light years in length, whose origin is still debated. In our data, they appear as thin lines of radio emission cutting across the background. If we could see them with our eyes, they might look like faint linear auroras stretching across space. We marvel at how orderly they seem in an otherwise chaotic region, like cosmic strings drawn taut through the galactic center. Listening to the radio noise connects us to home in a peculiar way. We recall how early radio astronomers, using simple antennas, were perplexed by a persistent hiss that grew strongest when pointing toward the constellation Sagittarius, in the direction of the galactic center. That was the first hint that the Milky Way's core was a strong radio source. How far we have come. Now here we are, submerged in that very hiss those scientists detected, experiencing it directly. It's a full circle moment. What was once an enigmatic signal on a chart is now the environment we sail through. We carry that historical perspective with us, feeling a kinship with those long-ago observers. We wish they could experience this with their own senses, as we do now. This immersion in the radio sea continues as we fly on, and gradually we grow used to it. The noise becomes a familiar presence, like the constant sound of wind when standing on a hill, or the gentle rustle of leaves in a forest. At first, One notices it sharply, but after a time it blends into the backdrop of awareness, only remarking upon it when it changes, or when one actively listens. We suspect that if we were suddenly to return to the absolute radio silence of intergalactic space, we would find it eerily quiet. We have adapted to this new normal of the galaxy's inner zones. There is also a scientific richness to this environment that keeps us busy. Even as some take respite in the gentle background hiss, others analyze it, trying to disentangle its components. Each type of source has a signature: a pulsar's regular pulse, the broad smooth noise of hot gas, the telltale frequency of electrons spiraling in magnetic fields. Using algorithms, we separate these layers, assigning identities to the static. It's like listening to an orchestra of static and learning to pick out the violins, drums, and horns. Gradually, we build a picture of what surrounds us, where pulsars cluster, where supernova remnants linger, where the central black hole's influence is strongest. The radio sea is not just featureless noise, it is a map waiting to be understood. Evenings on the ship, as we arbitrarily maintain day-night cycles for our own sanity, often involve a kind of stargazing, but with radio ears. Instead of looking out at visible stars, though we do that too, we sometimes gather to simply listen. We might amplify certain channels and play them through the speakers, sharing the experience of hearing a particular pulsar or the general hiss. These moments are communal and reflective. We find ourselves talking quietly about what all those stars out there might be doing at this moment, generating all this activity. There is speculation about how many civilizations may exist in that throng of core stars. Perhaps they too are aware of the cacophony around them. If any advanced beings live in those dense clusters, their sky would be alight, not just with visible brilliance, but with radio and X-ray storms. What a sky that would be to live under. Our conversation drifts to the idea of signal versus noise, a concept central to communication. Here in the core, nature provides abundant noise. Any deliberate signal would need to cut through this natural static. Perhaps advanced beings use techniques we haven't imagined to converse in such a loud environment. Or maybe radio is too messy, and they choose lasers or another medium. It's humbling to think that even our ability to communicate is contingent on the cosmic environment. Out here, nature raises the volume and forces any would-be communicators to adapt or remain unheard. It's another reminder of how context shapes what we do. As we muse on these matters, the visual environment outside continues to evolve. The star glow we noticed earlier intensifies. More and more, the space around us is suffused with a faint light. We realize we are beginning to enter the photon fog, the combined glow of countless stars and scattered light in the core. The timing makes sense. As the radio noise envelops us on one sensory channel, the optical and infrared brightness envelops us on another. Our journey is transitioning from an invisible ocean of radio waves to a very visible ocean of diffused starlight. The hum in our ears remains, but now our eyes pick up a gauzy brightness ahead. It's time for us to turn our attention to this new phenomenon, even as the radio murmur persists in the background. We prepare to drift further into the light, into the strange, diffuse radiance that awaits, carrying with us the sounds of the core as a constant companion. As we venture further inward, the darkness of space gives way to an ever-present glow. We find ourselves drifting in what feels like a cosmic fog, not of water droplets, but of photons. The collective light of uncountable stars, overlapped and scattered by interstellar dust, creates a diffuse radiance that permeates every direction. Instead of a black void dotted with points of light, our view is now a gentle canvas of soft luminosity. It is akin to twilight enveloping us on all sides, never fully day, never fully night, but an eternal, hazy dusk in the depths of the galaxy. At first, this photon fog is subtle. We notice that the interstellar dust around us, which once merely obscured distant stars as dark silhouettes, is now aglow itself. It reflects and diffuses the light from nearby stars, turning opaque clouds into faintly luminous apparitions. A nebular veil seems to hang in space, catching stellar light and letting it out as an ambient shine. The more we look, the more we realize that true darkness has faded. Even the areas of sky far from any obvious star are no longer pitch black, but tinted with a faint milky light. It's as though the very vacuum has taken on a gentle phosphorescence, a testament to the dense congregation of stars ahead. As our eyes adapt, we begin to discern shapes and structures in this glow. There are brighter patches and dimmer recesses, hinting at where clusters of stars concentrate or where thicker dust clouds block light. We see broad curving swaths, likely the inner edges of spiral arms or shells of old supernova remnants, appearing as gauzy ribbons of light. Against these glowing backgrounds, darker crisscrossing bands are visible. These are dust lanes so dense they still manage to absorb more light than they scatter, forming charcoal streaks cutting through the soft luminescence. It reminds us of sunlight streaming through clouds back home, where beams and shadows interplay, except here the scale is galactic and the effect nearly all-encompassing. Navigating in this environment is a novel challenge. In the pure darkness of outer space, distant stars stood out clearly, providing reference points against a black backdrop. But within the photon fog, contrast is lowered. Stars near and far all blend into the general glow until they are quite close or intrinsically bright. It becomes harder to judge distances by sight alone, as even faraway star clusters melt into the diffuse radiance. We rely more on our instruments, radar, infrared scanners, and other range-finding sensors to identify solid objects or dense regions ahead. Visually, it feels almost like flying through a faintly lit cloud bank, where one doesn't see an obstacle until emerging right upon it. Thankfully, space is still mostly empty on human scales, so the fog is more of a perceptual veil than a physical impediment. We decide to slow our pace here, drifting at lower velocity to safely absorb the surroundings. Through the windows, the view is enchanting and surreal. Imagine being at sea on a calm night with a full moon illuminating fog. There's a silvery light in the mist, and the horizon disappears. Here, a similar sensation occurs. The clear boundary between space and the glow is gone. In some directions, it even becomes difficult to tell where the light ends and where our own imaginations begin projecting shapes. We occasionally catch ourselves staring, thinking we see a vague figure or structure, only to realize it's a trick of scattered starlight, combined with our brain's tendency to find patterns. The color of the fog is another subtle aspect. It isn't colorless. There's a faint tint, a melange of many star colors blended together. At times, we perceive a soft golden hue, likely from the prevalence of cooler, older stars, red giants and yellow suns, whose combined light skews toward the warm end of the spectrum. In other areas, where perhaps more hot young stars reside, the glow takes on a whiter or slightly bluish cast. However, these differences are gentle and intermix smoothly. Overall, the light has the quality of late afternoon sun filtered through dust, warm, diffuse, and gentle on the eyes, despite its omnipresence. Inside the ship, we dim the interior lights further, letting the external glow illuminate our cabin. It's bright enough now that one can read instruments and move about without our own lights, yet dim enough to feel calming. We find this half-light soothing, almost akin to candlelight in its softness. In this perpetual galactic dusk, our conversations quiet down naturally. We speak in hushed tones, as if louder voices might disturb the delicate lighting. There is a sense of entering a sacred space, a hallowed hall, lit by a billion distant suns, filtered into one ambient haze. Every now and then, a particularly bright star or cluster will emerge into view, burning through the fog with a more pronounced radiance. These instances draw our attention sharply, like seeing a lighthouse or distant city lights through fog on Earth. One such sight appears off our starboard side, a dense clump of stars that shines as a concentrated patch of light. We identify it as a globular cluster, possibly one of the many ancient collections of stars that hover around the galactic core. This cluster's combined light pierces the surrounding glow, creating a tiny island of clarity amid the haze. Through binoculars, we can resolve dozens of individual stars in that cluster, each a jewel of intense brightness. It's a beautiful contrast to the fog, a moment of texture and detail in an otherwise smoothly blended environment. Yet as we continue on, even that cluster gradually fades behind, swallowed once more by the luminous fog. We reflect on how, from our vantage within the galaxy, we now truly understand why the Milky Way appears as a milky band from Earth. We are inside that milky band now, in the very thick of it. From here, looking outward would show darkness only where dense dust blocks light. Otherwise, any direction we look has layers upon layers of stars, contributing some brightness. Only by being here can one appreciate just how much light those distant, overlapping stars produce. This diffuse glow is essentially the integrated starlight of the galactic core region. It's humbling to realize that what seems like a faint, cloudy band from afar is actually an ocean of light when you're immersed in it. Our journey through the photon fog is not just visually striking, it also has practical implications. The constant light means there's no natural night for us to use for respite. We have to enforce an artificial day-night cycle in the ship by closing blast shades and creating darkness for sleeping periods. Otherwise, our circadian rhythms could easily get confused by the endless soft daylight outside. Some of us, however, find it hard to resist peeking out even during supposed rest hours. The vista is unlike anything we've seen, and it feels like a shame to shut it out. More than once, a crew member has admitted to quietly lifting a window shade during night, just to gaze out for a while, like someone stealing a glimpse of a moonlit world outside. Who can blame them? This sight may be once in a lifetime for any human. The glow also affects our instrumentation. The abundance of light can interfere with some of our more sensitive optical sensors. We adapt by narrowing their fields of view or switching to filters that isolate specific wavelengths. Infrared imaging becomes particularly useful here. In the infrared, we can see through much of the dust that scatters visible light. When we switch an infrared camera on and look out, a different picture emerges. The fog recedes somewhat in infrared. Distant stars and the core's structures stand out more clearly through the dust. It's like using a powerful lantern in a mist. Suddenly, structures that were hidden appear as silhouettes. Through infrared eyes, we observe the central region's true chaos. Densely packed stars, swirling clouds, and the faint outline of the central molecular zone, a huge ring of dense gas orbiting the core. It looks turbulent and busy, whereas in visible light the photon fog smoothed it over into a tranquil glow. This dual view, serene in one spectrum, tumultuous in another, reminds us that reality has many layers, and what appears gentle may hide wild activity underneath. Knowing what lies beneath the glow adds depth to our appreciation of it. We realize that the peaceful haze is partly an illusion of scale and distance. Each point contributing to it is a fierce sun, many of them giants, or even supergiants, some possibly erupting or dying at this very moment. But their individual dramas blend into the collective calm from where we float. It's a bit like the calm surface of the ocean, observed from high above. You wouldn't know from the silent blue expanse that deep currents and teeming life thrash below. We ponder this quietly, acknowledging that to truly understand the core, one must consider both perspectives, the holistic view and the granular reality. As we drift, an almost poetic thought comes to us, that we are sailing through the galaxy's soul light. The photon fog feels like the spiritual emanation of all those stars, their combined essence lighting the void. In this light, every ancient star that ever shone in the core contributes a photon or two that might now be reaching our eyes. We are, in a sense, bathing in the collective glow of millions of lives, stellar lives, that is. Some of those stars have already burned out long ago, but their light lives on, still travelling, still diffusing through the dust. It's an ethereal feeling, as if the past and present of the galaxy are intertwined in this radiance surrounding us. There are moments when the fog thickens visibly, not in the way of becoming opaque, but in its intensity. We attribute these to pockets of especially high star density. One such moment occurs as we cross an imaginary boundary into the innermost zone of the galactic bulge. Here, the number of stars per volume has grown immensely compared to the outskirts where we began our journey. The brightness correspondingly increases. We notice that shadows cast by our ship, for example, against any bit of dust or objects we release, become more diffuse. Light seems to come from every direction now, filling in shadows almost completely. It's reminiscent of standing outside on an overcast day. Shadows are faint and soft, because the light is from all around, rather than a single point. In our case, the clouds are the dust and gas scattering the glow of myriad stellar points. Among this brilliance, our eyes finally catch sight of a particularly significant feature ahead. The very center of the galaxy's core, hinted at by a densely packed swarm of stars and a subtle change in the pattern of light. We cannot yet see the central black hole. It remains hidden by distance and the glare, but we see its environment. There is a cluster of stars there moving differently from the rest, whipping around an unseen mass. While to the naked eye from our distance, it still looks like just a tighter knot of lights. Our enhanced imaging confirms we're looking at the central stellar cluster, a swarm of stars orbiting the invisible behemoth at the galaxy's heart. The photon fog is brightest in that direction, a luminous core to the core, so to speak. It appears as an almost blinding concentration of the diffuse light we've been sailing through. We have to use filters to examine it properly. It is like approaching a fog-enshrouded city of lights, marking a metropolis at the center. This realization brings excitement and a touch of apprehension. We are nearing the end of this voyage's outward journey. The very heart lies just ahead. But between us and that heart, this fog and all the phenomena within it stand as both a curtain and a warning. We must find a way to navigate into the center, where conditions will be even more extreme. Looking at our star charts and sensor data, we discuss potential paths. The central cluster is surrounded by swirling bands of gas and dust, the circumnuclear disk and other structures. We see hints of those as dark, turbulent regions embedded in the glow. They might pose physical obstacles, or at least intense turbulence. There are also more black holes and neutron stars densely packed there than anywhere else, meaning more gravitational pitfalls and radiation sources. And of course, somewhere in there lurks the supermassive black hole itself, with its immediate accretion flow and possibly minor jets or outflows of its own. For now, we allow ourselves a short respite, almost as a calm before the plunge. We continue to glide slowly, letting the photon fog's gentle light saturate our senses. In these final gentle moments, in the diffuse glow, we absorb the beauty of it all, imprinting it in our memories. We know that once we push closer to the central hub, things may become intense and dangerous quickly, and we'll need to be at full alert. So we savor this quiet interlude of softened light and relative peace. From here, we can make out multiple potential routes into the core, each through different pockets of the fog. Using all the data we've gathered, we map out the central region. The core's gravitational pull is now quite evident in our navigational readings. Even at our current remove, we can feel its tug subtly affecting our trajectory. We identify the location of the supermassive black hole at the core, marked by the intense cluster of stars orbiting it, and note the surrounding structures. There is a dense disk of gas and dust orbiting somewhat further out, a circumnuclear disk that forms a torus around the very center. This disk is turbulent, a maelstrom of material feeding inward. Plunging directly through it would be akin to flying through a raging storm cloud laced with radiation and debris. Then there are the two massive jets we know about, shooting perpendicular to the disk. Approaching along the exact poles means contending with those beams of energy. One potential route we consider is to approach from above the galactic plane, arching over the top of the central disk. This would mean steering our ship out of the dense plane of the galaxy and coming in along a path that is roughly aligned with the axis of the black hole's rotation. Another route would be a more direct insertion along the plane, but timed and aimed for one of the gaps between major dust structures. If we locate a window in the circumnuclear disk, perhaps an area thinned out by previous supernovae or outflows, we might slip through with less obstruction. This path keeps us in the general equatorial zone of the core, where most of the orbiting stars and remnants lie. The advantage is that we avoid flirting with the jets. But the trade-off is we would have to navigate an obstacle course of high-speed stars, stellar remnants, and intense radiation fields from all the X-ray binaries and young stars in that plane. It would be like flying through an incredibly busy, glittering city at night, with traffic whipping around in unpredictable ways and bright lights at every turn. A third option discussed is a kind of slingshot approach. Loop around the core at a radius, perhaps using one of the relatively calmer orbital paths around the center, then gradually spiral inward. In other words, instead of a straight shot, we'd perform a controlled, curved descent, mapping the gravitational terrain as we go. This might afford us more reaction time if something unexpected comes up, and let us adjust course as needed. We could possibly use the gravity of the core itself to aid our maneuvering, carefully, of course, to avoid being irrevocably trapped. The downside here is that it prolongs our exposure to the hazards. Spending more time near the core increases the chances of encountering something harmful, and it would mean enduring the radiation and stress for longer. As we debate these paths, we are all aware of the gravity, figurative and literal, of this moment. This is the culmination of our long voyage to reach the heart of the galaxy. There's a sense of solemnity on the bridge as each crew member offers their insights. We cross-check our shielding capabilities one more time, ensuring we can handle the likely spike in high-energy radiation the closer we get. We verify the agility of our thrusters and navigation AI, knowing we may need to execute rapid adjustments to dodge fast-moving objects or sudden outbursts. One of us quietly suggests that before we venture further, we should transmit a final update of our journey so far back toward home, a precaution in case we don't come out the other side anytime soon. It's a prudent idea. We compile our logs, our measurements of the black hole territory, the jet, the radio sea, the photon fog, all of it, and send it in a tight beam transmission aimed at our distant base. The signal will take a long time to get out, and even longer to reach home, but at least it's dispatched. Doing this leaves us with a moment of contemplation. We are essentially saying, this is what we've seen up to the brink. Now we go where communication might not follow. It underscores how deep into isolation we are moving. From here on, we cannot count on being able to share what happens in real time, or even at all if things go awry. With that sobering task done, we double-check everyone's resolve. A gentle, mutual understanding passes among us. We have come all this way together, and will see it through together. There is fear, naturally, fear of the unknown and of the extreme forces at play ahead. But stronger than that is curiosity and the drive to witness the center of our galaxy with our own eyes. It is, in many ways, a core part of human nature to seek the unknown, and that core now leads us to the galactic core itself. A slight smile and nod here and there between us reinforces our camaraderie. No one is turning back. We decide on a combined strategy, a hybrid of the first and third options. The plan is to rise above the plane at a moderate distance from the core, positioning ourselves at an angle where the jet's intensity is lower, not in its direct line, but offset. From that vantage, we will attempt a curved descent towards the black hole, effectively spiraling in from above at an oblique angle. This should help us avoid the thickest disk material and much of the wild star activity, at least until we are very close, while also keeping the jet mostly off to our side. It's a complex trajectory, one that will rely heavily on our autopilot's computational precision and our manual readiness to intervene. We program the initial parameters carefully, inputting contingency maneuvers should certain thresholds, like radiation spikes or gravitational pull, exceed safe limits. The moment comes to implement our decision. We orient the ship gently, feeling the thrusters pivot us until the glowing plane of the galaxy lies below and ahead of us, and the vast opening of intergalactic space is above and behind. In the window, we see the central glow slightly off-center now, meaning we're aligned to come in from an angle. The jet we encountered earlier is visible as a streak of light off to our left, safely distant enough for now not to blind us. With a collective breath, we ignite the main engines just enough to start moving along our chosen path. As we advance, the environment begins to change almost immediately. The tranquil haze of the photon fog takes on new shapes and motion as our perspective shifts. We notice more of the dynamic nature of the core's inner region. Flickers of variability in the light as stars move and as clumps of dust spin around. The gravitational field grows stronger and more irregular. Our ship's instruments need frequent recalibration to maintain a steady trajectory. We are essentially descending a gravitational slope, and as we do, we can feel the ride getting steeper. Tiny thruster adjustments fire constantly now, sending small bumps and vibrations through the hull. The autopilot is working to counteract gravitational perturbations that change from moment to moment. It's like traversing down a mountainside in a thick fog, where the slope angle shifts under you unpredictably. Everyone is strapped in and focused. The calm reverie we enjoyed drifting in the fog is replaced by a quiet alertness. Outside, the view gradually transitions. The diffuse light begins to resolve into more distinct sources as we get closer to them. Stars that were just part of the glow now separate into individual points of harsh light. We start to pick out the brightest members of the central star cluster, like headlights appearing out of a mist ahead. Each of those points is a massive sun, many times more luminous than our own, and they rush around the black hole at incredible speeds. Occasionally, we catch the glint of one tracing a fast arc, disappearing behind some dust only to emerge again, a vivid reminder that these aren't static beacons, but moving actors in a cosmic dance. Our chosen route indeed spares us from the thickest clouds, but we skirt their edges. We pass near a huge, turbulent mass of gas, likely one of the star-forming regions, or possibly the outer part of the accretion flow. It churns with internal motion, and we see flashes from within it, perhaps newborn stars, or shock fronts sparking brief illumination. We keep a safe berth, not wanting to get caught in any drag or radiation bursts from within. On the other side of us, the polar jet remains at a respectful distance, a glowing column we monitor to be sure it stays predictable. So far, it appears steady, a constant presence like a far-off searchlight in the night. We know that the hardest part is yet to come. Soon, we will be close enough that the black hole's immediate vicinity, the swirl of the accretion disk, and the gravity well itself will dominate everything. In those final approaches, our plans may need to be fluid, reacting to conditions we cannot perfectly anticipate. But that will be the point of no return, the moment we truly enter the black hole's domain. For now, we have set ourselves on the right trajectory and begun that inward spiral. As we progress, we exchange last thoughts and directives. It's almost like preparing for a spacecraft landing sequence, except what we aim to land on is not a surface, but a successful orbit or observation point very close to the central black hole. We clarify roles. Who will monitor which instrument? Who will handle communication attempts? Who will be ready on manual controls if needed? These discussions are brief and efficient. Every crew member knows their training and trusts each other implicitly by this stage of our long journey. Still, voicing the plan one more time is reassuring, a final check that we're all in sync. In the final moments of this phase, a calm determination settles over us. The anxiety of choosing a path has given way to resolve in executing it. There is no more ambiguity. We have committed. The ship is now steadily moving along the plotted course, and the core's inner sanctum is drawing nearer with each passing second. The glowing fog around us is gradually giving way to a more structured sight. We can see the rotation of the central region, everything subtly orbiting in one direction, stars and gas streaming like the slow whirl of a great maelstrom that we are sliding into. Yet, amidst the intensifying light and the increasing gravitational pull that even our bodies can slightly sense, a gentle tug toward the forward part of the ship now, as we decelerate against the core's pull. There remains a tranquility in our hearts. We have come to terms with the risks. We have marveled at the journey so far and shared that wonder among us. Now, at this core crossroads, we choose to carry on. The threshold of the unknown is before us. Beyond this point, our experiences will likely surpass anything we've encountered. Without fanfare or dramatic pronouncements, we move ahead, quietly and steadily. Through the viewport, ahead in the distance, a darkness sits at the center of the brilliance. The black hole itself, still too far to see directly, but its influence apparent in the frenzy of orbits around it. That is our destination, or at least as close to it as we can safely get. One of us notes softly that the heart of darkness is no longer a mere metaphor in a book or a distant concept. It's literally looming before us now. As our ship edges ever closer, leaving the crossroads and committing to the inward path, we feel a mix of anticipation and reverence. The radio chatter of the galaxy falls to a background hiss, our focus sharpening. The gentle fog of light condenses into sharp, urgent beams. Our journey through the core's shadow is entering a new chapter, one that will bring us face to face with the central void and the blazing chaos around it. With resolve and a touch of awe, we proceed into that brilliant and perilous heart, ready to witness whatever revelations await in the darkness ahead. 01.